Oh wait, do. And boom, perfect. Oh. Oh, hey, look, we are actually on the channel right now. That is amazing. So hi, how? We're preambling. So like, hi, how are you? Bloodshot, how was your day today?
It was good. Thanks for asking.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Was it as good as that apple?
It was pretty good. It's, I don't know. The apple's pretty good, but that's because I'm eating it right now.
Oh. What? Well, is an apple good if you're not eating it? I hate to get philosophical here, but I feel like we have to.
I guess an apple can be good whenever.
Uh.
Just like life. Life's full of apples.
So true.
And you can quote me on that one.
I don't mean to get political, but sometimes apples can get bad.
I don't know why that's so political, but okay.
Well, you see, apples can be good, when they're young, when they're fresh, but when they get molds, like, can't have them. So, hi. Yeah, so. We can just say so in turns if you want to.
Doom's a game.
It is a game, actually,
Very
believe
true.
it or not, and we do a certain thing with that game, but what could it be?
I think it's Speedrun?
That doesn't sound right.
Run
It's not
speed?
just a game.
It's not. Well, okay. That could be positive or negative, but you're not wrong.
It's a game theory. Thanks for watching.
It's not just a game. It's an idea. It's a mindset. It's a grind.
Gotta have the right grind set to get the time sets,
So I guess I know Raitro had questions probably set up, but I am actually curious because I know this question always comes up.
Oh damn!
And I'm curious.
I was
how did you
supposed to
guys
be
get into speedrunning?
I was supposed to be the prompter. How dare you, Bloodshot? This
Whoops.
this whole list is out of order. Dane, you're right beneath Bloodshot, so you have to go first legally.
Ouch.
That's fine. I can do that. What was the question again?
How'd you get into speedrunning Doom/Doom Eternal? But I think I know how you got into Doom Eternal.
Yeah, so my initial kind of involvement with Doom 2016 started, back in 2016. I started playing the game. I actually played it on PS4 initially, and when I was initially trying to beat Ultra Nightmare. That was like my goal that I set for myself, was just to beat Ultra Nightmare. And I realized pretty quickly that was not going to happen if I was continuing to play on PS4, because controller is very difficult to play this game on. At least for me, Fro has proven time and again that that is not the case. But it was very clear very quickly that it wasn't going to happen if I was trying to play this on PS4. So I switched to PC, and in the process of trying to look online and kind of get tips for how to beat Ultra Nightmare, I came across this very small guy named Bite Me. Don't think anybody knows him at all.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Yeah. What's funny was I actually started talking to him and started becoming buddies, and he was like, "Hey, you should come over and join my Twitch channel." And I was like, "Oh yeah, Twitch is a thing. I forgot about that as a website." So I went over to his channel and just kind of watching him, doing his 100% runs back then, and I was starting to kind of get established in the speedrunning community from that. And once I beat Ultra Nightmare, the natural next step was 100% Ultra Nightmare. And Byte was like, "Okay, as soon as you beat it 100%, let me know, and we're gonna send that to the moderators at speedrun.com." And I was like, "I don't know what any of those words mean." It's I have no clue what you're talking about. So it was I was super confused because I didn't know any of the stuff he said. He had to show me how to make a highlight, because I literally didn't know how to make a highlight. But I finally beat the whole 100% Ultra Nightmare. We got it added to speedrun.com, and then from there I started kind of getting a little bit more involved in speedrunning in general. Byte kind of stuck to Doom, Ultra Nightmare, 100% stuff, and he kind of like stayed in that lane exclusively. I started to get kind of interested in the whole rest of the speedrun world, and I started to branch out into other games and do other stuff like that. But that was pretty much my long-winded entrance to Doom speedrunning.
It makes sense. I've heard a lot of people basically were enamored with Bytes, all of Bytes runs, and from everything I've ever like talked to him about with like he's a chill dude when it comes to like people getting involved in speedrunning and stuff. I know like most people are like this. Like honestly, this is more the rule than the exception, which is great about speedrunning. But in particular with Byte, it always felt like he wasn't some grand speedrunner person. He was just like one of the guys, and he treated you the exact same. Where it's like,
Yep.
Anybody can speedrun. Like, not a big deal. I'm just a guy that plays the game, and so are you. And that was always kind of like, it's always chill talking to him about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and back then we didn't really even think of it as speedrunning, so to speak. I mean, Byte still doesn't really consider himself to be a speedrunner even now. He just kind of thinks of himself as a guy who plays the game and does it quickly. But as he was starting to develop the route for 100% and kind of pushing that time farther and farther down, more people started to get involved, and a lot of them, I mean, Doom speedrunning has been a bit of a revolving door, kind of in the same way that speedrunning in general is a bit of a revolving door. And when new people came in, they were like, "Oh man, this guy Byte Me, he's like doing this crazy stuff on Ultra Nightmare. I want to do that." And they would jump in, head first, try and learn a speed run like Doom 2016 100% Ultra Nightmare, which is not an entry level run by any stretch. And they're trying to learn this run and would get like immediately discouraged and kind of move their way out. And so we've seen a lot of people coming through who, not for nothing, want to imitate what Byte was doing. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way or a bad way at all. It's just it's a very difficult run to do, and I think people kind of underestimate exactly the workload that is involved in learning a run like that. And it's a testament to just how good Byte's skill really is at doing this run and managing to make it look so effortless that people would just show up and think, oh, I could do this. This is easy because Byte did it, and Byte made it look so easy. And then you start to realize very quickly, this is not easy at all. This is actually a really difficult run to do.
Meanwhile, we had like nearly the opposite thing with Eternal, where people were basically just coming in and then just doing one and like, yeah, this is remarkably easier, at least from a casual standpoint.
Yeah, I actually found Eternal to be harder personally. In fact, I actually never even ended up beating Eternal on Ultra Nightmare. I know I probably could have if I stuck with it, but I just never did.
I think they're different in how difficult they like just generally are.
That's true.
Like
I still love the you had briefly mentioned just and this is for any speed game, I guess, just oh, you're doing this stuff to like skip a thing or easily fight this thing, like that's so fucking easy. Like, why would you or oh, you're skipping these guys, like why don't you play the game? I was like, you realize this is harder. Like you see the fight cut in half. You don't see 500 hours of practicing the cut in half part. Like,
yeah, it's very easy when you consider the fact that we have all the spawns memorized, the exact combos we're going to do when about to kill them. But from a casual perspective, you just like you run and you like try not to get backed into a corner.
I really thought you were about to say you run and you gun, and I was gonna punch you, but
wait, run and gun.
I really do enjoy the people that say, unironically, they say speedrunners just hate playing video games. And that's why they want to speedrun it to get through it super quickly. And it's
literally farthest from the truth.
Like, I hate video games so much that I am going to just get through them as fast as I can, as opposed to doing something else with my time.
Why would you spend $60 to skip half the game?
Right.
Like, oh my god,
there's so many good copy pastas about that. But no, it's like you ask any punny who plays a game, the people who have the most hours in that game, odds are they're speedrunners.
It's true. I mean, most of my time spent in 2016 has been spent speedrunning it. If it hadn't been for speedrunning, I don't think I would have spent even half the amount of time that I've spent in the game. But there's so much to learn. There's so much to experiment with. Like 100, because my primary run was 100%, and that run is, number one, it's long. Number two, it does, quote unquote, everything. And so there's so many different routes and different angles you can take things from that no two routes have the exact same things in them, because there's like so many opportunities to change stuff kind of as you go. And changing one thing in one level changes things in other levels. It really is a very dynamic thing. Now, Raitro, you conspicuously tried to avoid answering the question, how'd you get into speedrunning?
Okay.
I'm glad you brought it back, because I was about to.
In order to tell you about my tale and where I am right now, it is a question of my history that I have to bring up, of which not all I am proud of. So I think how most people discover speedrunning is like they're on YouTube one day, and like a recommended video that comes up is just like a GDQ run or speedrunning highlights, etc. That's exactly what happened with me, but wasn't Doom that caught my interest. It was the Mario speedruns. Particularly, I was the biggest fan of Super Mario Sunshine, which, if you don't know, it's the greatest Mario game ever made, and it beats all the other ones single-handedly, and I will not accept differing opinions.
Gonna disagree with you on that one, Chat, but okay.
That's a weird way to say Hotel Mario, but whatever.
Hotel Mario.
I don't know. I personally think
favorite
Mario
one.
Teaches You Reading's the best one. But no. So I originally got into it. I didn't have a GameCube anymore because this was like 2016, 2017. So the closest Nintendo console I had was a Switch. So I originally was like, okay, I like Mario speedruns. I'm going to give Super Mario Odyssey a try. And long story short, speedrunning made me hate that game. That game has motion controls as like an essential part of the speedrun, as well as just general like grievances with platformers and whatnot. So
Isn't that the game where you have two controllers and one of them's being controlled with your feet or something?
That freaking Small Ant one, the famous Mario Odyssey speedrunner, for a category called minimum captures, you have to do that.
I see.
Where literally you just need both like controllers acting at once, or else you can't play it. But after being disheartened, I grew up with like a very FPS background. I played all the Call of Duties growing up. I didn't actually play any like movement shooter a la Doom-esque for a while. My first experience of that was 2016, which I played, I think, a few months before Eternal came out, because I was just like, you know what? I like shooters. I got it. And this one's like, it's $5 on Steam. I'll pick it up. Thoroughly enjoyed my time, and I was just like, I realized, like, does this game have a speed run? To where I saw Bite Me's GDQ run. I was just like, wait, this kind of looks frickin' sick. It's probably too late in the game's lifespan for me to get like involved for it, but I thought like, okay, Eternal's like in 2 months. That'd be a good time to get on the ground floor. So after Eternal came out, I had to finish school. It was my last semester in my undergrad. So I just for a month I was just playing it casually. I played it through like 3 or 4 times because like I really just liked the core combat and whatnot. And then after watching basically the main people who ran 100% back in the day, Draku, Zero Master, all of which I have half the skill in, as the YouTube comments section will let you know. So I decided to get into speedrunning my first category, which of course, me loving 100% and watching lots of 100% UN runners, I decided to pick up all collectibles.
That's not the direction I expected that sentence to go, but I'm glad we got here.
Yeah, so, and then we all know what happened with all collectibles in Doom Eternal. Everyone sort of left that category, and I had a power vacuum, and then I eventually was like, okay, 100% UN. That was my original thought of this category, so I picked it up. Did a nightmare run, my first run ever, 5.5 hours long, many deaths, very slow, but I had a frickin' blast, so I next day, I just did another and then kept doing that.
5.5 hours is actually not bad for a first run.
You should see my
Especially
run
that,
and then you should see my run and then tell me that.
Well, okay, I know we're gonna like, say our first run is terrible, but I mean, for a first run, it's a first run. First runs are terrible by default, but for 5.5 hours for a first run's, I mean, actually not that bad.
Yeah, not even just 5.5 hours for first run of the category. That's 5.5 hours for first like run of the entire game.
Well, yeah, the only experience I had before I did that run was I played through the game casually like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I did the whole thing where I watched like the latest 100% at the time, which I believe back then 100% was super unoptimized. I believe world record was like a 330 by Dracu at that point. So what I would do then is I would literally watch them, take notes, and then I'd just try to recreate it without ever referencing my notes. I'd just like, okay, I approximately they did this. Let's see how this works. And yeah, now I'm here running the DLCs because I realize base game is bad.
Oof.
I mean, I didn't have to say it, so that's good for me. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like Dane, you're the 2016 guy here. I'm the DLC guy. We got to figure out what guy Bloodshot and Paisano are.
Paisano's the anthology guy.
I'm the washed up guy.
I'm the what the hell's going on here guy.
You're the real Waisano guy, you know?
Paisano, what's your
Paisano,
history
turn.
with running?
Yep, your turn.
Yeah, I never started speedrunning or even considering speedrunning a game until I was watching this was like February, March 2021. I was watching like 100% UN runs mainly for Eternal, and I was like, okay, I suck at this game and I want to do this. So like, what other categories does game have? And I kind of had a similar experience to that Dane was talking about, where you were watching Bite Me and you're like, oh, this looks like, I totally want to do this. And a lot of people who also wanted to do 100% UN in 2016 were like, oh, Bite Me's making this look so easy. Well, I was watching Bowser's NMG runs at the time, and I'm like, wow, like he's doing this so effortlessly. Like, there's no panic in his mouse motions or everything. This looks so easy. I'll totally try this. And then got slapped in the face by the skips in that category. But that was like my what got me into like wanting to speedrun this game, being the ultra smooth skips and movement of NMG at the time, now any percent restricted.
Very nice.
So how does it feel that a lot of the movement is random? Because B-hops are, in fact, RNG, as we all know, in Doom Eternal.
Initially, I was very mad about it, but and it was very frustrating grinding Hell on Earths to get like a single sub 6 Hell on Earth ever in NMG.
All my homies hate Hell on Earth.
Yep. But I think over time, like especially once like the macro got updated to fix like the error, and then it was running at the right frequency, which made bunny hopping a lot harder with the macro. Migrated over to the scroll wheel, and I've just been having a much better time with bunny hopping now that I have more control over it with the scroll wheel. Still frustrating to miss super easy B hops in any percent, but it's a lot less frustrating than it used to be.
You at least have the benefit in Doom Eternal of having more consistent bunny hops. Bunny hops in 2016 are not consistent at all, and they are like unicornic in rarity.
Yeah.
So you at least have that on us.
Yeah, when I was doing 2016 runs, the getting like the intro to Cadinger or the intro to Titan's Realm, getting those bunny hops was just, it was always an event when it happened. A special occasion.
All right. So we got to wrap this all back around to the person who asked it. Bloodshot.
I thought I
How?
had diplomatic immunity.
That's not
True.
how this works.
Answer the question, boyo.
So like, it's weird because a lot of people say that they started because of GDQ runs. it wasn't really because of GDQ runs that I started. I would watch a lot of different GDQ runs just kind of casually, and they were very enjoyable to watch. But they never really made me like, oh, I really want to speedrun a game. I would just kind of like, ever since I was like a kid, I've played a lot of different games and usually played them to death, like 100% every single game I play, yada yada. And every so often there would be games where I enjoyed them so much that I was like, the go to when I was a kid was going to Google and googling video game name cheats, and usually it would be like an IGN list of cheats, glitches, and that thing. A lot. I feel like it's a lost art form nowadays, but usually it would be like, oh, here's this small glitch, and here's this big glitch, and here's like a skip for this thing, and I would just kind of do them casually. The big ones I would say I would like actually like try out would be Symphony of the Night glitches and Metroid Prime glitches, because Metroid Prime's just the best game ever. But I would just kind of do these like speedrun tricks kind of casually just because they were fun to do. And I couldn't really tell you. So for Doom, funnily enough, similar to Dangerous, I was playing Doom 2016 on Xbox One and just really enjoyed it. And I would do like the Nightmare arcade runs and stuff and try to get like top scores in those. Just had fun with it. And I was excited for Doom Eternal coming out. Doom Eternal came out. I got it on PC because I had a good PC to actually play it on. And I played it casually for a month or two, and I was just kind of having fun with it. And I don't specifically know what happened, but I ended up just kind of looking up speedrun stuff, and I decided I didn't really like the any percent run. No offense to any percent runs, it didn't seem like it would be my kind of thing. But then it was a guy HQR Dest. I don't know how to actually pronounce his name.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
But he was doing NMG runs. Either before, I think it was just a category, like it just became a category with him and Meta, and he was posting runs, and I watched his run. I was like, that actually looked really fun. And I did my first run, and it was like I think like a 3-hour 28 run, which wasn't bad, but of course it's kind of slow for a first run. But I was like, this is actually pretty cool. And then my second run was like 2-hour 28. I was like, that's a big hefty time save. And I think the thing that got me hooked for sure was any percent. Like true any percent was actually looking for a skip in Urdak before like the big skip was found. And I ended up spending a while looking up or trying to do meat hook stuff before we understood how meat hook worked. And first, I found a skip at the start of Urdak, posted it, and everybody was like, "Yeah, there's an easier skip there." I was like, "Okay." And then later on in the fight before Orange Ring, I found a way to skip that fight with a really weird chrono hook ballista boost downward jump thing, and it was like a legitimate skip, and everyone was like, "Oh, this actually saves time. This is really cool." And then I got outclassed by other, big skips, but it was still like a really cool thing. And then of course NMG, now any percent restricted, still used it. And the fact that I found something that actually could be used, like, kind of was like the thing that made me really stick with like continuing to pursue speedrunning with it. And from then everything kind of just, cascaded into getting more and more involved into speedrunning. And it was very fun.
Yeah, I think also my biggest like sort of surge in involvement and like really having fun speedrunning this game was when I stopped doing NMG basically and started doing NMG out of bounds, now any percent limited, and just like finding new stuff for that one since it was a very seldom run category at the time, or still is, but like it was a lot of untapped potential and a lot of like new skips that were just waiting to be found.
It's really cool too. Like I even back in the day before you were pushing it, I thought NMG out of bounds was like just really actually cool. And the only thing that sucked was there's only so much time in the day that I never had enough time to like do it plus other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable. I had a blast in like my initial run through of limited doing just like finding skips on like the current route and just like oh, it turns out you don't really need this upgrade or this upgrade, or you can skip this arena by doing this weird combo boost that I just found. Like that was really exciting to me. Just like finding stuff and then being able to actually do that in a run and have something to show for it.
I don't know if it's still this way, but I always loved for Out of Bounds that there was like an actual choice whether you wanted or didn't want SSJ for the hook.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
now
that's
it's less of a choice because you don't want SSG because punch boosts are so powerful.
fair.
Yeah, but yeah, at the time that I was running it before, I was getting SSG because Final Sin was super fast with pairs hook.
Mm-hmm.
But like had pairs hook not been found, it was probably uh probably like even whether or not to get SSG. You know,
Shoutouts to Pear for finding every worst skip ever.
I know, right?
There he is.
It is
There is also in chat. Very nice.
sorry.
It's so
Don't worry. I don't have to do that hook anymore. Don't
it
worry.
still baffles me that we live in a timeline where we can actually do a yellow key card skip, like a real one.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're in the good timeline.
Wait, doing budget skip is the good timeline?
No, we don't do budget anymore.
Yeah, doing
No, you do a punch boost off of the
Arachnotron turret.
Arachnotron, which
Oh, you guys are talking about not Hundo. Okay, now
Correct,
it's
I
less
understand.
viable. You can do it for Hundo, but it's less viable.
budget is the good timeline. Mute. What the hell?
Okay, some people like doing ramp jumps. I don't know. They're a different breed.
I like doing ramp jumps so much that I just stack hundreds of ramp jumps together. It's my favorite thing.
Well, somehow I never heard slope boosting described so elegantly.
OG key card skip is the best timeline. That is a lie. OG key card skip was really cool and really dumb. I don't know if any of the other mods knew at the time. I literally said to people in all their all the Twitch chats, I said if anybody gets I think I said top 3 NMG run that had actual yellow key card skip in it, I was going to make an announcement to everybody that look, somebody got a run with the skip in it. It's really awesome. And nobody ever got it, FYI. So technically, that bounty is still up there. If any of you want to,
Mute
Bounty
actually got it.
For a free announcement.
Yeah,
Mute
for
got
a
it
free
twice in. Yeah, Mute got it twice in runs. I don't think that it was a completed run.
That's the
where he
thing.
got
It wasn't a completed run, Mute. So shut up right now. It was plus 10 for run. Well, then it wasn't record. It was. Well, then nobody contacted me, so you lost your moment.
No, well, see, Mute, it wasn't record because there's no evidence of it.
No evidence.
This man's gonna have a stroke if you keep doing this.
It's fine. It's fine. We won't have to hear them complain.
When people talk about mods abusing power, this is what they mean.
Yeah. Talking about getting into it, I was strange. Like, I thought like Doom Eternal was kind of more like, I don't know, akin to like a job or something. It's like, I don't know, especially during like 2020 and the P word happening. Like, I'd basically like I couldn't go into the lab I was working at, so I would literally just like 5-6 days a week be like, okay, I'm gonna run 100% Nightmare and see if I can one day get to UN. I really didn't start liking it until The Ancient Gods 2 came out, actually. Which, I know, call me weird. Tag 2 is the best campaign to speedrun. Fight me, everybody in chat.
I think you're on it, honestly. Like
it was a much better any percent run until Bowser found the new zip in Amora. Smile.
Oh, that zip looks so good. I kind of want to do any percent in Tag 2 again just to do that skip once.
I will say, I still to this day hate Tag 2 or Tag 1's any percent because like it's so inconsistent. I actually think if it
It's
was
so
more
fried, and I
consistent,
love it for it.
I like tag one's any percent because I think special fish is one of the weirdest glitches and is really cool. And the zip in blood swamps followed by hitting the end level trigger early, even though the end level trigger is like up in the sky where you would never actually be, like all of that combined. Oh, and then the third level being, oh yeah, you go to the cutscene hangar and zip off of that. Like all of this stuff was like, it was so weird and really cool. And then all like the first two were like really, really inconsistent. In particular, I was awful at the blood swamps zip. I could never get that in an actual run. It was so annoying.
Yeah, it was a miracle I got it in my run. And I spent like 10 seconds setting it up too. Like you look at Seeker's run, he like basically just jumps onto the rock and then just just dashes and flies into the air.
Seeker's a different breed.
Yeah, I don't know how he sets that up so fast.
Well,
But tag 2, if it wasn't for Dark Lord, I think I'd agree that like I think tag 2's runs are much better than tag 1's runs to speedrun,
well,
I really like
except for
the
Dark Lord.
I really like the yeet hooks in Tag 2's any percent.
oh yeah, we're the both first two levels. The correct way to do the level is literally just yeet hook to the end.
Yeah.
Because like tag 1 does this when you mention like stuff about like literally like zipping off the UAC carrier, but like tag 2 also has that super fun moment of in the first level, in order to get to the end, you literally have to do a boost off the tutorial room. And
That's
like
fair.
yeah.
I do love that.
it's kind of like the dev room in Mars Core, like that you all use in any percent. Like it's just like the cool factor of like you were in no way supposed to get to this in this manner, but the fact that you do is like it's one of my favorite things in speedrunning.
The other
when
thing
stuff
I
like
like,
that happens.
the other thing I like about tag 2, just because the route's cool, this is like the cool kind of thing about like thinking about how to speed run, I guess, just like how to like separate your brain from thinking about like the intended path. But we basically go to the end of the first level, go to the second level, back out to mission select to the first level, go grab the hammer, exit, and then continue the second level because it's faster than going. I think we do that because isn't it faster than going to get the hammer and then going out of bounds or something? It's not like
For
much
Tag 2 any
faster
percent?
for tech to any percent. Yeah, I think it's like
Uh,
it's not a huge margin. It's like 10 seconds, but I remember people were saying it's faster to finish the level and then mission select, get the hammer, and then exit because you keep the hammer in the second level then, and so you don't have to.
oh,
Then you don't
no.
have
So
to like.
there's a it's not like a mantle clip, but there's like a hole in the geometry right where you get the hammer, so you can actually just get the hammer, do a nice little edge boost over like a 2 feet high invisible wall, and then you can get out of bounds and do the boost that Raitro was talking about off of the dev room
Yeah,
or
it's
the
like
tutorial room. I mean,
the area to get like there's not. I bet
there's no
actually that
mission select in the route.
the mission select might be close. However, I guess like without mission selecting is just barely faster. But
It's definitely one of those things where it's not a huge deal. Like
Yeah.
you'll be. I feel like you'll be competitive doing either one. So
Hmm.
oh yeah, totally. So, wow, that was a good question, Bloodshot. And also, I'm pulled up my question list, and that was literally my first question on there. So you were reading my minds. Okay. Well,
I'll guess your second question.
okay, yeah, actually, this will be good.
Who is your favorite speedrunner and why is it Bloodshot 9001? Did you have that like prepared?
That felt like a soundbite, Dane. That was just too perfect.
It was probably a voice.
That was just really funny. That was a great.
Wow, thanks, Dane.
Cold.
No. The question was Doom 2016 or Eternal, and why is it Eternal?
So
See,
true.
ooh, all right.
I feel like I'm being attacked right now.
All right. So here's the thing, right? I am a masochist. So I go onto the Doom official Discord, and this question gets asked all the time because people are dumb. But honest to God, if you're talking about speedrunning, I would say Eternal. But Doom 2016 is close in regards to like the cool speedruns and stuff. And honestly, I think 2016 is just the better game overall.
Interesting.
Like not even a contest. 2016.
What do you mean by like better game? Like in what aspects?
So like if I'm playing it quote unquote casually, and people can throw a fit over me saying casually or whatever, who cares? If you're
intended way,
if you're not speedrunning it and playing for fun, which some might argue you can't do when you're speedrunning.
Speedrunning is not fun. Anybody that has fun while speedrunning is a liar.
Actually, speedrunning.
So true.
No, so Eternal has better, I'll say, combat and like movement in combat. Meat hooks, ballista boost, bunny hops, that stuff. Which 2016 has some of that, but not to the degree that Eternal has. So I think Eternal's general combat loop is better than 2016's. Although 2016's is still good. I don't agree when people are like, "Oh, it's impossible to go back to 2016," but maybe that's preference. But I think the soundtrack or the OST in general is just all bangers in 2016, whereas in Eternal, I say Eternal's a roller coaster where some like the highs are higher, but the lowers are lower than 2016, where it's just all highs. Level design's cool and atmospheric as all hell. Eternal, I don't hate this, but it's very arcadey with all the visuals being like highlighted in neon and stuff, which I get it because it makes the game easier to play, but visually I just think it makes it clash a little bit. And I think the big one that not a lot of people talk about, but the writing and the humor in 2016 was so much more subtle and actually funny, whereas in Eternal it was a little bit not cringe, but I always point to the first when you're in the elevator in 2016.
Oh yes.
And Hayden just says, "Oh, I did this for the betterment of mankind," and Slayer just looks at a dead body, and that's hysterical.
Oh,
the timing in that's so funny.
I freaking love it. I think the first time, when Samuel Hayden tries contacting you, he's just like, "I believe we can work together," and Doom Guy literally goes like, "Story, nah," moves the terminal to the side and continues on.
Now he doesn't move it to the side. He literally breaks it.
He pushes it. Yeah. Make sure you gently remove the canisters. Punch, kick.
I just loved how it was a bit self-aware in the fact of, okay, we know you're not playing for the story, so literally Doom Guy just seems disinterested in the dialogue.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's a great parallel for the player where if you want the story, it's there. But also literally in the story and out of the story, Doomslayer / the player don't care about the other player's stories. Their whole entire motivation is I want to kill demons. That was the other thing I'll say. And this is, I'll say, more personal preference because I'm not huge into the lore because I think Eternal's lore is a duty.
Oh, I will fight you on that.
In particular, the DLCs.
Way off the deep end.
But in particular, the DLCs way off the deep end. Base game, I was iffy. Here's the thing I love about 2016 versus Eternal. And I'll admit, because mostly I feel like it was more open to your own personal interpretation. But when I was playing 2016, they had all this stuff where demons literally had lore about the Slayer being this madman who could take on armies by himself. But when you play as Doomslayer, I honestly just thought he was a guy who was really good at killing demons and that there was nothing special about him. It just so happened that he was good at killing demons. And I thought that was a better, I'll say I don't want to say message, but I'll say message for the game to say. It's oh yeah, this guy's just good at killing demons. He's nothing special. Anybody can kill demons.
Anybody can kill demons if they have enough friendship.
Exactly. And then Eternal is oh, by the way, this guy went into a magic coffin and he got superpowers. And it's that's why am I a magic chosen one? I'd rather be a generic person that everyone else thinks of special.
What if I told you that before he got into the magic coffin, he was actually still really good at killing demons before that?
Fair. I don't know. I still don't like the magic coffin.
I think the whole all the classic Doom games take place before the magic coffin, at least in their their new and improved TM timeline.
Didn't they say that the classic games are not like canonical with
Yeah,
Doom Eternal?
even though they kind of hint at it, yeah, who even knows?
I thought it was just like mini references to the old games because, it is just, tongue in cheek there.
I thought Hugo explicitly said that Doom 64 takes place like right before, or not right before, but is before 2016.
That's what has been said. I don't know if there's really any official word. Like, it's kind of like one of those things where like they said it on a stream and maybe it's official, but I don't
see, yeah.
know.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
obviously, I'm not going to speak for I'm not going to speak for Hugo or id, obviously, but like when I watch those, I'm like, I take it with a grain of salt of like what they're saying might not necessarily be 100% true, Like they might be going off of what they think or remember, and
Keep also in mind we're talking about the lore of Doom,
a game that
this isn't Silent Hill. Like this isn't a series where the lore is so incredibly important to the games, to people's enjoyments of the game. I will say that 2016 story versus Eternal story, they're so polar opposite because 2016 story, the way I think about it is kind of like Bloodborne, how there's story there, but it's like just barely enough to hold the game together because you can't just like have no purpose. There needs to be a forward driving mechanism that gets the player like to an end goal. Like you can't just put a stick figure on one side of the screen and say, okay, get to the other side, because that your player's going to lose interest very fast that way. So 2016 did a really great job of keeping the humor very subtle and keeping there just enough story that you sort of know what direction you're going in without, kind of losing focus. And then Eternal decided to go full bore in the other direction.
Yeah,
and created one of the most bloated stories in like all of video game history, practically.
I mean, when you think about it, 2016 story is very simple. There are demons on Mars. You need to stop the demon threat. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then and of course in Midway you get lost in hell, have to make your way back, and then kill the demons again. But Eternal,
they added villain motivation. Like, okay, Olivia like made a deal with the devil, and that's why she's trying to turn the UAC's employees over to the Demon Lord. But it's like that's as far as they were willing to go. They were not going to go any farther. There was like nothing about the occult. There was nothing about hell priests. And then Eternal came along, and
not only hell priests, there are hell priests, and they're not able to be killed unless you grab a magic token, which apparently you just happen to have in the first level on Hell on Earth, by the way.
The magic token is protected by their guardian, so you have to defeat their guardian before you can get the token, then you can kill them.
Yeah, actually.
Which,
there you go.
I'm not saying it's bad, but I liked that 2016's I could kind of follow along if I wasn't reading the codexes. Whereas in Eternal, it felt like if I wasn't reading the codexes, I was like, why am I on a floating spaceship?
No, yeah, because Eternal is like straight up space opera, while 2016 is very simple. And I actually think that's to Eternal's detriment, because you read the codexes, like there's setups, there's payoffs. Like if you didn't read the codexes, Vega breaking down and, like fritzing out in Urdak makes no sense. But if you read the codex, like early on, like suddenly you're just like, oh, that means he's actually daddy. And,
Hey, spoilers, I haven't watched the cutscenes yet.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Well, yeah, you skip them every time.
I haven't seen one cutscene.
I will die on this hill, but everybody loves the stupid Tag 2 cutscene of Doomslayer with like the entire army of Sentinels behind him, yada yada. And it is a cool set piece with literally no buildup.
Oh, yeah.
Because the whole of 2016 into Eternal was like, you're Doomslayer, literally one dude who hates working with people. Literally, 2016 was about, I hate working with people. Screw Samuel Hayden. I'm doing my own thing. So they cap off this story with, oh, by the way, here's an entire army to back you. No, I wanted them to literally pull like, the original like Doom box art with him like holding an imp with one hand and a shotgun in the other. They should have just recreated that in 3D with the Slayer taking on demons on his own. That would have been such a better cutscene and would have had the buildup from the entire 2016 to Eternal storyline.
My
been
my
really
main
cool,
issue
honestly.
is like that game is just like, okay, in order to get to the main center of Amora, aka the center of hell, aka where the demon lord is, you have to get this special crystal. Okay, fine. And then you have to put it in this special portal, and then suddenly you get to go to hell. Doomslayer's the only one to have to do that. The other Sentinels just showed the frick up, just like, oh, we just used our handy dandy little portal thing here. And it's just like, kind of really ruins the fact of like, oh, it felt like you were building towards it when they can just teleport.
They could
out of
have even
nowhere.
they could have thrown in a line in the level like, they locked onto your signature. Oh, okay, sure. Like, hand wave it, but whatever. Ugh.
So yeah, basically, I think I'm in agreement that 2016 is way better, I think, on the story front than Eternal.
For speedrunning, I still would say I will say Eternal I think is better, but I think I'm biased because I just really, really like most of the skips and like movement in Eternal over 2016.
I started with 2016 actually. Like that was the first Doom game that I played because I had 2016 sitting in my library for like months, and then I got Eternal for Christmas 2020, and I was like, okay, I'll play 2016, and then I'll play Eternal. And my first playthrough, just like casually of 2016, I loved it. Then I went to Eternal. I was like, this sucks. Where's all my ammo? Why can't I do anything? And then, but like the more I played Eternal, the more I just got like enamored with the actual movement mechanics. And I think Mute said in the chat earlier, I literally didn't notice any lore in my playthroughs. Like that was me with Eternal. Like I noticed I paid less attention to the lore in Eternal than in 2016, simply because I was just like so enamored with the late game movement and combat once I actually got into it.
Okay, so obviously we have some bias here for Doom Eternal. Let's even this. Dane, you're biased in the opposite direction. Tell us why 2016 is better as a speedrun.
Well, first of all, the bias thing is like we are talking about value statements here, so there's going to be bias. It's okay to have an opinion about things.
No, opinion's bad.
Well, wait, it's definitely not okay. That's why I'm asking you about your bias, obviously.
So the whole thing with my preference for running 2016 is I prefer the combat loop to 2016 over Eternals because 2016's was, in my opinion, more focused on actual like push forward combat. Like the whole core design of 2016 combat loop is you are rewarded for moving in. Like if you get behind cover, you're going to be punished. Demons are going to snipe you and they're going to take you out. So you need to move in toward the fight, and you need to be constantly shooting whatever's closest to you. And the way that they designed the token system in the combat in 2016 was specifically to encourage the player to do that. That's why they drop health. That's why they drop ammo. Yada yada yada. Eternal's combat loop kind of bucks that expectation a little bit. And I think that's where my disappointment with the game largely came from, was that I was expecting another push forward combat loop where it's, move in, move in, move in, move in. And then suddenly we get stoplight enemies in the Marauder, and you get, instant hit scan AoE from Mancubi. And it's like suddenly the game was now telling you, yeah, move in, move in, move in, move in. But not with these enemies. With these enemies, you need to completely change how you approach the fight. And that was where I think my frustration with the game came up, was this kind of dichotomy of styles being implemented in the same fight at the same time. It was like, okay, you don't want me to push in on a Marauder. You want me to wait for the Marauder to come to me. But meanwhile, I've got gargoyles spitting acid in my face, and I can't move to dodge it, or the Marauder is going to be weird and snipe me from from like up close, and it was like there was like these two opposing forces at the same time, and that was where a lot of my frustration with the game came in. I like the combat system in 2016 a little bit better, just because it is a little bit more consistent to me, whereas Eternal tries to incorporate too many things at once, and I think that's where the kind of the biggest design flaw came in. I will say for Eternal, the movement is a lot better in Eternal just because you have more movement options. You have dash, you've got double jump immediately, you've got other ways to implement movement aside from 2016, which is pretty much just you can mantle ledges, you can double jump, a third of the way into the game, and then once you get the Gauss cannon, you can actually start doing Gauss boosts. But you are somewhat limited. Like there's not really a lot of bunny hopping that you can do in 2016. I mean, there's some, and they certainly can give you speed boosts, but bunny hopping is so much more prevalent in Eternal because the levels are so much bigger that you can really take advantage of that, whereas you can't really take advantage of that in 2016 in quite the same way.
Yeah,
Another thing with like 2016's bunny hopping is that it needs to be like much tighter timed. Like you can't just spam your scroll wheel downwards in order to hit the bunny hop perfectly, because you're going to use your double jump, and the double jump will get rid of all your speed. In 2016 at least, whereas in Eternal you can just expend your double jump and spam bunny hops with scroll wheel, and you're not going to lose all your speed by double jumping because you keep your speed.
Yeah, and that's even like you're sort of almost in a way encouraged to utilize your double jump before the bunny hop in Eternal, whereas in 2016 you have to be really strategic about how you try and incorporate that. If you want to like go for a bunny hop, it's a lot harder to get the timing right for that.
I guess a little bit backtracking, but you mentioned in combat how 2016 you like it because it was more focused. Meanwhile, like Eternal was a bit more complicated. I like how that's a how do I put it? There's like too many things Eternal's trying to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like I look at that and like that's a positive for Eternal for me. I love how there's just like, how do I put it? There's lots of different modes of playing the game. Like you can't always push forward because Mancubus has this AoE attack that will deal half your health. You can't like push in without having a plan.
I will say I mostly agree with Dane about most of the combat loop stuff, because in particular for Eternal, for one, even like the Mancubus like butt slam, sometimes it just decides to like not, I don't want to say not work. It's instant no matter what. Like if you're hooking onto him and about to falter him and about to do all this other stuff, he can still sometimes just instant slam, and it's like, why? It's so jarring that it happens before the animation. And of course, Marauder. Marauder existing.
Hey, I am the one person here who will probably say the Marauder I think was a good design decision. I just hate its execution.
Right. I think if the Marauder had other ways of fighting him, but having the parry riposte system like be a like better option, quote unquote. I mean, obviously speedrunning aside, because obviously we'll find the best method. Like the fact that
same design philosophy for the Armored Baron for the Marauder,
or
I think I would enjoy the Marauder a lot more.
I would have liked to have been able to dash away from him and have him like, I don't want to say stick his hacks in the ground, but basically like have him stand there for a second, like after he swings, so you can shoot him a bit, and then he turns to you, then pulls up his shield, so that you could shoot him without parrying to reward people who can at least dodge him. But then, of course, if you parry him, like, oh, maybe he takes like 25% extra damage, or he's stunned for a little bit longer. Like he is, he gets stunned now, but the fact that, and this one kills me, because when I was playing Eternal, I decided to play without tutorials on, because tutorials are stupid. And in particular, when it was like, oh, here's a Kako demon, shoot sticky bomb into mouth, it dead now. Like that felt really, I feel like I could have probably figured this out through playing the game. So I turned it off, and up until the Marauder, every enemy like had a thing that you could figure out like through playing the game casually. And then all of a sudden they have this enemy that I couldn't damage, and I kept trying to use remote det, and remote det, the weapon designed to like detonate behind a thing, kind of, wouldn't work. And I was like, this is stupid. I don't understand. Finally, it killed it like after forever, because I basically was doing sticky bomb remote det, not knowing how to do that well. And then when I got to like the secret encounter in Terrace, I couldn't fathom killing a Marauder in 30 seconds. I was like, how do you kill a Marauder in 30 seconds without BFG? This is stupid. Then I either looked it up online or looked at the tutorials, but it goes, oh, hit it when its eyes turn green. And I'm like, okay, I understand that's like a trope of video games, but literally no enemy in Eternal had a mechanic like that until the Marauder. That's really stupid that they introduced that type of mechanic into the game.
Halfway into the game.
Right. And I'm not saying the mechanic itself is stupid. I just think it's stupid that it's the only mechanic against a Marauder. And obviously that has the big asterisk of, yes, there's other ways to deal with Marauders, but they're unintentional ways. Like, the Marauder was designed for you to fight it in one way. Parry, shoot once or twice. Parry, shoot once or twice. And they should have added more, creative ways to fight it. I hate, the literally worst enemy in the game is Stone Imps, because use full auto, and
What are you
literally
talking about? You could just use chain gun shield.
and
There's so
literally
many options.
literally everybody I know,
Blade.
even casual players, like nobody who speedruns, nobody who does high-end content, nobody who does anything, they're like, yeah, I just use D-Blade anyway because it's faster. And it's like, it's so funny that nobody wants to use full auto against them.
It's because there was just a tip that showed up immediately that was just like, oh, hey, full auto is super effective against these Stone Imps.
And for like no reason,
Yeah.
and I know I'm
reverberations of the frequency or something.
Yeah, but mobile turret. Like, why not mobile turret too? Like,
I mean, for the same reason that the meme beam is used on the Spirit, they wanted to take these mods that they could see were
underused,
kind of getting a lot of hate in the main campaign, and they were like, we got to find a way to force the player to use them because we want them to see just how wonderful these mods are. And they ended up making enemies that were a bit of a meme and not necessarily taken super seriously.
The funniest thing about microwave beam and spirits, though, is that like the spirit buff itself actually has a hard counter in microwave beam, in that the only thing that can stun a spirit enemy is microwave beam, and that's like a organic kind of like evolution of the meta. That's an organic, oh, this thing's weak to microwave beam because it gets stunned by it. So already, like, okay, that's a cool introduction. But then they're also like, oh, and spirits can only die to microwave beam. It's like, well, okay, that's boring. Oh, but funny Ghostbusters reference. Like, I don't care about that. It's still stupid. It's a stupid design to make a thing weak to only one thing. Having it like, having the weapon itself good against it because it's effective, or because of the design of the enemy and the weapon, like, that's different than literally making an enemy weak to a weapon. And I will admit, I think the same goes for Cacodemon and Sticky Bombs. I don't think that should have been a thing, because it makes Cacos like a non-enemy.
Cacos is weird because I think that's actually an alright thing, because the Cacos have it's not necessarily like your forced use stickies, but it also has the other, like, for sure, like, counter of Arbalist, which also instantly kills.
Right, which is fine. And I think that's the only reason I think it's fine, is because there are other ways to fight it. But when people mention, like, oh, Stone Imps are weak to full auto, but Cacos are weak to stickies, it's like, yeah, but Cacos aren't immune, quote unquote, to everything else. So
yeah, similar to how Meme Beam and Spirits is a reference for Ghostbusters, do you think Stone Imps was a reference to Under the Mayo? Because they're all covered in white, like mayo, and like you have to use full auto. That was my head.
I actually thought it was a reference to the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I've heard that theoretically Mayo might have been asked to not design Stone Imps. I don't think that's a thing. And I think he even has a video about talking about like Tag 2 and the design of stuff. I'm sure id knew about full auto's like basically meme worthiness, and I think they wanted to do something involving it. I don't think they like approached him and asked him for like advice on that stuff. I think they probably approached him about like the full auto buff, but that's a whole nother thing, and I'm not going to get into that because I will be here for an hour talking about that. So
Wait, you're with speedrunners. You don't have to argue that full auto is worse than stickies.
no,
Your friends
but
here.
I'm going to argue for an hour about why and how to fix it, and I don't want to do that.
Bloodshot in their game design knowledge. Can't believe it. Ooh. Wow. So, we got lots of thoughts about 2016 and Eternal, but I think we need to bring into the important questions here.
Do it.
Okay. So, do you think there's intrinsic meaning to... I'm kidding to y'all people. I'm talking about...
Oh, no.
What's your favorite speedrun level, and why do you like it?
I'm really glad you asked that, because I wanted to ask that question.
Okay, Bloodshot, you were excited, so
You
you
can
get
start.
to go first.
Well, I mean, I wasn't that excited. Funnily enough, Mute already spoiled the answer, but literally Urdak. Urdak is without a doubt the best speedrun level. For restricted any percent. I don't know about the other categories well enough, so you know what? Pear is also. I was gonna say Pear is also right, because Hell on Earth. I mean, Hell on Earth is the level we all spend the most time on. Like, we must love that level.
Okay,
So
so...
it's like 2016. We love UAC so much because we spent so much time there.
Exactly.
who would have thought?
It's for sure though. It's Urdak, because I think every single skip in Urdak is very cool to do, and I'll say is significant, but not like overly so. Like, each skip probably skips one fight, but that's still kind of cool, and they're just fun to do. They're very consistent for the most part. Like, there's basically no RNG in Urdak. Like, Urdak's just the coolest level to speedrun, and the flashiest for sure.
Well, definitely, since we have you here, the moments that I think a lot of people mention is literally during your GDQ run when you did sausage.
Yeah, that was
and
crazy.
I think collectively everyone lost their mind.
Because honestly, it was just that was fun, because I don't know how consistent I was at sausage before that. I had done BTRL the month before, and I remember not being great at sausage skip, to the point that like during BTRL, we had I don't know how much time we had to do runs. I think it was like a 14-hour period. I might be wrong. But within like the last hour or two, I was on like not great pace getting into Urdak, and I couldn't hear them, but people were telling me in my chat that the commentators were saying I had only enough time to either finish this run or start a new run. So I had to make a like choice on like, do I try to do this, or do I try to start again? Because I was a decent, like, I want to say I was like 30 seconds, 40 seconds behind, which for me was a lot, because I wasn't like that consistent at the run at the time. So I was like, I was just going for it. And I ended up hitting sausage skip, probably the best I'd ever actually hit it. And when I finished Urdak, I apparently saved like a minute 20. And from then I was like, screw it, let's just go. And then from there, I ended up getting the PB that I got then, which was very nice. It was a really cool like final run to get in, with the whole like, do I keep going? Do I reset now and stuff? And I'm really glad I didn't reset, because that would have been another hour and a half of my life. But after that, I think I spent a lot of time practicing sausage skip, because I wanted to nail it, because it's probably the coolest skip of, I think it's the skip I always point to, like when people are like, why speedrun Doom Eternal? It's whatever. I always share that clip, because it's just super flashy. It's just super cool. So I think I spent a lot of time specifically practicing that trick, because it's just so cool.
Pear said sorry again.
How dare. Arc was really cool. But yeah, what are your guys' favorite levels to speedrun?
Oh, Dane, yeah, you're next up from the top, so therefore you got to go next. That's how it works.
So for 2016, my favorite level, both casually and in 100% speedruns, is Danejerus Sanctum, the first hell/purgatory level. It's just a really fun level. You're finally like in Hell's terrain. It also has the lucky distinction of being immediately after Argent Tower, which is not a fun level to do.
I can say, isn't that like the worst one?
I don't think it's the worst level. I think it's the second worst level because it's just this god awful platforming for like the whole thing. Now 100% actually only just recently figured out how to skip most of that. Thank goodness.
God bless.
But like you have this terrible level with all this terrible platforming, and then you get to the Danejerus Sanctum, and it's like you talk about platforming, like literal actual platforms that you jump from, one to another. But it was actually like well-designed platforming. There was like really fun arenas. It was actually the level that they showcased, like the first combat portion of like in the initial teasers at E3. When they were they showed Foundry first because that was the first level they designed in the game. But then I think the first combat encounter, like full-blown combat encounter they showed was Danejerus Sanctum. And it's just a really fun level. It was my favorite casually, and then for 100%, it was also the best. And it's also one of the worst in Legacy Legacy Redguard. It's like one of the worst levels because you have to do the same skip like 4 times, and it's nauseating.
I can't remember which one it is, but either Titan's Realm or the Necropolis is my favorite level. Which one's casually, because I didn't speedrun it too much. It's the one that has like a yellow door on the left and a blue door on the right, like right away.
That would be Necropolis.
Yeah, Necropolis was like my favorite one. When I was like playing, that was the one, and I think it was that one because that one played Rip and Tear throughout most of it. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And so that was the reason I really love that level. And so on Xbox One, I'm sure it's not great now, but at the time, I ended up getting like a top 100 ranking for like the Nightmare boards for arcade, which was like
nice,
kind of cool. And then I was looking up the other ones, and they were like ×2 score. I was like, either those are cheated or I'm just really, really dumb. And it could have been both, honestly, because I think there were actual exploits of like farming headshots or something, but I wasn't going to do all that.
There's a way to do it where you would like at the very beginning of Titan's Realm, there's a bunch of cacodemons that spawn in, and all you have to do is get out the chain gun, shoot them until they stagger, and then shoot the next one, and you could build up your multiplier to maximum before you've even killed a demon. And it's really funny. Raitro, what's your favorite level to speedrun?
Okay, we're gonna get deep in the lore. Controversial opinions here.
Oh God.
If I was being basic, and if I was saying like, okay, we're only considering the base of both games, I think Art Complex in Eternal
feel free to do DLC
is great. However, Art Complex doesn't hold a candle to World Spear. I love 100% restricted World Spear. It is.
That's fair.
It probably has the most variation of tricks, skips seen in like any level in Eternal, because it has quite possibly the most optimized combat, and well, because it's DLCs are basically all combat optimization, but we do all the restricted the NMG strats any percent, but we also have to do combat while doing them. There's also the 3-second save pause boost at the ends, to where one of the 2 uses you do in all of Doom Eternal is there.
Funnily enough, now that we're better at pause boost, that probably actually does save a lot more time now.
Yeah, it's forever the 3-second time save for sentimental reasons. It saves like 7 seconds maybe now, but like who cares?
It's funny because back, nowadays, like I probably could just do it like with the pause boost because I was like really bad at pause boost, and then somebody was like, use escape tab to unpause pause. I was like, that's a game changer.
I actually found out the bigger strat of space also exits the menu.
I didn't know that one.
So you could do so basically what I would have is I would have basically X, space, and tab all held on 3 separate fingers. So then like as soon as I hit X to swap mods, I immediately hit space and tab, and you can really get it to where like it's like a frame or two. Got it down to a science. And okay, I guess for Elson World Spear there's the clip through the invisible wall you get by looking at away from a monkey bar, which is exactly, it's strange because in monkey bars, like, you typically can't lock onto them unless you're looking at them. There's cool despawns, there's lots of cool routing, and I don't know, I feel like World Spear is definitely has a place in my heart for sentimental reasons, because Tag 2 was one of the 100% is one where I first like started really like routing, and like I know Bowser and Frosty, they primarily made the skeleton of the route we use today, but there was a lot of room because that was the first sweep through, I was able to refine a lot of it, so I just have good memories of me literally having like a BFG spreadsheet timing which encounters saved the most time with BFG and where it was optimal to use them.
Shout outs to Bowser for being Bowser.
Who will eventually take my Tag 2 world record because they're back to running 100% in there, but I welcome the day. I get to see those new strats they come up with.
I will tell you this, our complex was my favorite level casually playing the game, because nothing made you feel more powerful than when you get into the haste arena with the overdrive, and the only thing they fear is you. That crunchy guitar riff starts playing, and you just feel like that was a great feeling.
I was gonna say,
Power fantasy to the maximum there, because they have the berserk fight, the haste fight, and then suddenly like you just get like probably one of the best soundtracks in the whole base game.
I was gonna say our complex was the one casually for me because of the only thing that fears you.
Yeah. I mean that song just has like this weirdly captivating quality that makes you like that song comes on, you're gaming. you're going at it.
Your full flow state there.
Yeah.
I will also, because you mentioned DLCs, I think Blood Swamps is probably, I'll say, the best level casually now. Just I think it's got the best content. Obviously, if it's also noting that we're probably really good at the game, but like I don't know, I think Blood Swamps is just really, really good. And I like that it's you get to choose whether to go left or right. Not that it's a huge choice, but it's it's something. They toyed around with that,
I didn't like Blood Swamps casually. My preferred one for the DLCs was UACA, and I'm surprised that level doesn't get more love.
I actually also really like UACA.
I think UACA just doesn't get much love because it's right before Blood Swamps, and Blood Swamps is regarded as like the best.
And see, that's the thing, is like I didn't actually enjoy Blood Swamps that much, so it tells you just how like varied the opinions can really be on this.
I also didn't hate Holt, but Holt's
Holt felt very weird in comparison to the other two.
Exactly. It's not that it's like not hard, it's just, and I don't really want to say it's shorter, but it just feels
tonally out of place.
Yeah.
Compared to like the rest of the DLC.
Holt gets a pass for me, mainly just because it has the best skyboxes in the freaking game. That level is beautiful.
True. I also really like the ambiance, honestly. Like, a lot of people talk about the DLC's music, and I think they was Andrew Holt and
David Levy.
Thank you. I literally just said his name the other like on a stream, and I don't know why I'm forgetting it now. Or forgot it. Everybody's talked about how the mixing isn't great, and I do think it's a shame because I think the music is good, but I think they nailed the ambiance. Like the actual like when you're in a fight and the tracks are playing, I don't think we're as good as base games because of the mixing. But when you're like doing platforming and exploring the level and they had the ambiance playing, I actually think all of the DLCs, but in particular DLC 1, just nailed it with Atlantica's, Blood Swamps, and Holt in particular with like the like corrupted version of Urdak it was cool. It was all really cool.
All right. We're going to get into the most nuanced answer here, because Paisano, who has ran literally every category, of like both games.
So what we're saying is Paisano's decision here is final and absolutely going to say what the best level is.
Yes,
Yeah,
hands down.
I'm the canon one.
Mhm.
Funny you should say that because I have I kind of had two answers. My favorite level to ever speedrun was in any percent restricted Super Gore Nest. That level is just pedal to the metal, just go. Oh my god, it's just indescribable.
That's
Got a great
fair.
song.
I think the really close quarters movement is what I really enjoyed about that, specifically in like the second half of the level. Like the first encounter, I'd say what you want about the first encounter, mix 'em square. A lot of people don't like it, but like you could write a book about the routing for that encounter,
That is
and
true.
when it goes smoothly, it's just the best feeling. That combat routing.
That's the problem. It never goes smoothly for me.
Oh,
Same.
no. And then all the movement once you get past Vermilion Canal or Vermilion Canal 1 even, like that one goes smoothly. Just like a nice, good, smooth Super Gorness is just I I don't see anything that tops it.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
you're.
I'm
I
I'm
think you're
sorry,
right.
Newt.
I remember like always seeing Bowser post videos of just this fight in Super Runners, this fight in Super Runners, this fight in Super Runners, and they were all like I look forward to every single one because it's always really really good.
Yeah.
Like
That one was
uh,
definitely my favorite one to play in a speedrun out of any category that I've played. Now, my favorite level to watch someone else play in speedruns is probably UACA in any percent restricted. Watching Quarth and Drake do do that level, it's just like tiny skip after tiny skip after tiny skip, and there's so many just like tiny nuanced optimizations, and every single skip sort of operates differently. There's like a the hook off of the Dread Knight to skip the trigger, which I think now they do a pause boost there. Like just how smooth that goes, and then now there's the new punch boost that skips the overdrive arena, like the really like tilted overdrive arena in that level. Like everything is just so smooth. I like watching it for the same reason I like playing Super Gore Nest.
I really thought you were gonna say you liked watching people do Hell on Earth because
Oh,
you're
well, that
sadistic.
too. That's the obvious answer.
I like watching people suffer.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
also Drake has a point. UACA's track is banging.
USC is actually like a really cool speedrun level.
Yeah.
Except
I
in
still think
100%.
it's also just unique, I would say, because I mean, it's not the only like level that does this, but it's the only one that really makes good use of it. But the fact that you can just jump over the trigger for the fights,
Yeah.
like I think that's hysterical that it's a thing, and also that we can make use of it. You know,
Yeah. And then
it's
doing it
yeah.
smoothly just looks and feels so amazing. And then Holt is also up there for me, if I'm being honest, for the same reason as UICA. It's just a series of like small skip after small skip, trigger skip after trigger skip. It's all movement, all smooth and sexy. It's amazing. I think UACA just edges it out just a little bit for me.
Okay, so now we're all filthy Doom Eternal lovers here. Casually, what's the best level in 2016 from the Eternal crowd? What's the
Oh,
level with the Hellguard boss fight?
That's Necropolis.
Oh, dude, I think Necropolis gets it just because that is the best boss fight I think I've ever played in an FPS game. I love that boss fight to death.
Funny, that's actually my least favorite boss fight from 2016, and I really like the bosses in 2016 for the most part.
How do I put it? It was like very Doom style and where you could always shoot at them, but there were specific, instances to where you can, when you deal damage to them, that puts them into a stun state. And I don't know what it is. They reuse this trope for the Doom Hunters in Eternal, but you fought one enemy, now the boss fight's just beginning, then two show up. I don't know. I just love that trope. It's probably, if my only complaint, saddled there, they didn't do the trope of it's you but stronger for any of the Doom games. I was so hyped for Tag 2 because I thought that's exactly what they were going to do for the final boss fight. But no, you face a big marauder.
Bloodshot.
I mean, I mentioned that I really like. I think Necropolis.
All right, you said that. Sorry, I meant Raitro.
Necropolis.
Both say Necropolis?
Final answer, Bloodshot? Necropolis?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Paisano, you will be the definitive answer now, Mr. Candy Boy.
Yeah, my favorite 2016 level when I was doing some casual playthroughs, probably Vega Core. I just really liked the super dense arenas there. Like the one after the little tram ride where I think there's like a baron, like a few cyberminks or whatever.
Oh
Or
yeah,
like multiple
the
barons.
train
Like
station.
Train
that
station
level
fight is iconic, yeah.
Yeah, that level kicked my butt in a really, really good way. Like I finished it and I was like, that was amazing.
Some people pay for that sort of thing.
And then the generators fight, like I was a big dummy and then just like blew up all 4 generators at once and then got my ass beat.
The coolant room.
Yeah,
the coolant tanks.
cooler.
Yeah.
That's not generators, the coolers.
I don't actually know. Is there a spawn limit in 2016?
Yes, there's it's frame cap of I believe 16, if I'm not mistaken. Although the game lifts that cap in some places depending on the circumstances.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Vega was definitely the level I had the most fun in. Surprisingly enough, I don't remember playing Argentinaire casually ever. Like I definitely did, but like there's nothing memorable about it is what I mean. Which is strange because
It's the longest level.
Yeah, it's the longest level with like some of the biggest arenas. You'd think that I would have strong memories of that, but not really.
What do you guys think of the bosses from 2016 or Eternal? But like for like 2016, I remember even before getting into speedrunning, I've played like a bunch of games and a lot of first person shooters, and it was really cool having like a first person shooter boss that was much more about dodging the stuff. Like it's obviously very simple in retrospect, but I absolutely adore was it Cyber Demon, and in particular Spider Mastermind, where it'll shoot lasers that sweep over you where you're not supposed to jump, and then it'll shoot lasers where you're supposed to jump over them, or like you have to crouch into them, because I forget you can crouch in that game. But I actually just really liked that as like a mechanic of like, yeah, you just have to do that. And then they did the platforms in Spider Mastermind that like, gets you above the like electric cloud, and you have to make sure it doesn't destroy the platforms. Like I thought all of that just like, I don't know. It's not like a Dark Souls boss, but honestly, I just think what they did was really, I'll say innovative, because I just don't know many other like first person games that would have cool bosses like that, aside from maybe like the Metroid Prime series. And even then, like, I don't think that holds a candle to any of the bosses from 2016.
Well, if we're on the boss train, we already talked about how much I like Hellguards, but I actually think something that comes close is from The Ancient Gods Part 1. Obviously, it's the box fight. We punched two. Like I just love the foreshadowing of we punched all these boxes to platform in the base game, and now they're back for revenge.
That is one of the funniest troll things you've ever pulled off. GG's.
No, but if I'm being serious here, Sammer, aka Sammy Hayden in Tag 1, that last boss fight, it's a gimmick because, the
Sammy
spirits, they basically say like, yeah, this angel who's corrupted can now control the demons of hell because they don't have a sphere. And I don't get it. I don't care. I just really like the mechanics of the boss fight, specifically the phases where Mr. Hayden is taking you on as well with a bunch of demons. It feels very much like you're getting attacked while also dealing with a foe who's like a bit tanky, but not too much, because you can finish those phases relatively quickly if you can pull off a lot of good combos. So it was kind of like the closest thing I got to the facing your equal sort of thing.
What about the Dark Lord?
Dark Lord's just first phase gladiator, but bad.
Yes, yes, but not only that, it's first phase gladiator, but bad ×5.
Hey, times 3. The one cycle in the second and third phase is actually kind of sick.
True, but yeah, honestly,
that's not
I
intended though.
yeah, I would trade the ability to do the one cycles for a better boss fight.
Oh, any day, yes.
So I'm going to bring it back to the lore real quick, and I'm going to push back a little bit against saying that Sammy Hayden is a good boss fight in the game. Number one, I just don't like the core design of that fight in the first place. But here, my biggest issue with it is Samuel Hayden at the end of 2016 steals the crucible that you pulled out of the necropolis, and he looks at you and says, "I am not the villain in this story." Now,
and then he is
the moment that you understand, oh, this guy's the bad guy, and they're like, okay, this is the guy that we're gonna be fighting in the next game, and I understand that they wanted to make the Doom 2 reboot. They wanted to make the boss fight the Icon of Sin, because the Icon of Sin was the boss fight in the original Doom 2. So like I get that. And then they relegated Samuel Hayden to the end of a 3-level DLC, and it just felt so
tone deaf
and cheaply unfair. Like you built up this epic badass boss like villain character, and then you threw him at the end of a DLC, and it just felt like we got ripped off a little bit.
Yeah, I will say I really dislike Tag 2 as well.
Wow.
I like Icon of Sin as it's not a boss about like, oh, fight a bullet sponge, but it's, it's a hazard plus an arena. Like you're fighting a arena as a boss. And like for an arena shooter, for the final boss to be an arena kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But
kind of true to the original Doom 2, where the Icon of Sin was just like a painting on a wall.
Right. But
and that was like the big thing was they wanted to make that final boss fight feel like you're fighting a wall, because in Doom 2 you were fighting a wall. Like that was they did that on purpose, and I think they did it really well in fairness to them. But Bloodshot.
But fucking like it was so hype at the end of 2016. Like that was a great cliffhanger, and you start Eternal, and you're like, wait, where am I? What is this?
And
What's
there was
going
no
on?
explanation for that, by the way. There
was
explanation
zero explanation, and you're like, okay, eventually I'm sure this will get explained. And then you go to Arc, and it's like, hey, yeah, Sammy Hayden, I don't know.
He was right. He's not the villain in this story.
Kind of died, and you're like, oh, cool. I'm gonna take him and make him an NPC to talk to. And
I hate it because there's like no leftover tension of like, oh hey, I'm Samuel Hayden, you're Doomslayer, and it's just like, I kind of left you for dead, teleported you to the random nowhere where you had to fight back to get to me. And you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you where your next level is.
Right. I thought maybe he was going to like help you until like he corrupted the Doom ship, and then you'd have to do like a level on the Doom ship and then eventually fight Samuel Hayden or something. No, he just relegates himself like, whatever. I'm an NPC now.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Like, the fact that the first fight, like the first level in Eternal, wasn't you fighting your way back out of whatever arena Sam sent you to at the end of 2016 really felt like a cheap ripoff at the end of the day.
Yeah, they said they wanted it by design, that like, okay, this takes place sometime after where he's gotten his ship and his shotgun back, whatever. Like
they're allowed to say that. I'm also allowed to say it's a really shitty design.
I would have liked for it to be explained somehow. Like I don't care. There could have been like a flashback or dialogue or something. I just wanted something, and they just straight up said no.
For Tag 2, I actually really wanted them to have the first level be you play as the Dark Lord regaining your power, and then you could have the DLC not start you at full stack. Like, because you have 26, you have Eternal, you start, 100 health, 50 armor, not a lot of stuff. And then you start Tag 1 and you're just fully kitted. I thought it would have been cool to have you like have a level where you're not fully kitted, you're playing as the Dark Lord, do something, then you have a boss or like a main villain who does stuff, as opposed to, which by the way, my favorite plot point, you can't kill me here. I'm gonna leave this place that I can't die in now. See ya. Why?
Well, you see, the Dark Lord was characterized as stupid, so
Apparently. I don't understand. Like, I can't die here, but you know what? I'm gonna bounce so that you can kill me later. And it's like, what? There's no reason for this at all.
There's actually a very good reason for this. The reason is this. They already retconned so many other things. What's one more thing? What harm could it possibly do?
like, I guess like a bit to push back on Dane, who said Sammer was disappointing. I kind of like the setup for the fight with Sammer, because like, turns out he's actually like the father's like right-hand man who also tried to kill the father, because just like, you know, who cares? The father, he's kind of not useful
Family
anyway.
drama.
But
I will say, I wonder how much of that was planned in 2016, because I don't remember a hint of any of this in 2016.
I think they hinted at Samuel Hayden being like an angel or definitely not of this earth, but it just straight up goes like, oh yeah, Samuel Hayden's actually an angel. But because like your interest kind of aligned with getting the Father Sphere, and only until the Slayer like double crosses like Samuel Hayden, which he technically didn't double cross because Doomslayer doesn't really talk, but then like they clash again because, you know, Samuel Hayden wants revenge for literally destroying like, oh, the Father's Sphere. That's very important. But I have issues where it's just like logical consistency of like, okay, it took you all this effort to teleport here to the Father Realm. Samuel Hayden's just here. He didn't go with you in the teleporter or anything. No, he's just here.
Wait, hold on. You said the Slayer doesn't say anything, but I remember a very iconic line that he said from the Bane campaign.
No.
Guts! Huge guts!
Honestly, I never felt the Slayer more characterized than in that moment.
Oh my word!
Amazing impression, Dane.
When I talk about like the subtle humor to 2016, that is the complete opposite in Eternal, and I hate it so much. When he literally says "rip and tear," I'm like, this is so. I just think it's cringe, and not in like a fun, good way. I think it's just stupid.
There's a old joke in Futurama where was it Fry writes an opera for Leela, and he's just like overtly making fun of the robot devil. And the robot devil says, "Your jokes lack subtlety. You can't just have your characters say how they feel. That makes me feel angry."
Nice.
And that felt like Eternal, but they really genuinely thought they were writing something like you know, like everything they wrote was very tongue-in-cheek. Like they knew they were writing a video game. They knew they were writing a story about a guy who single-handedly tears apart the hordes of hell with his bare hands. Like, you know, like they're not taking themselves super seriously, but at the same time, it felt like they really tried to write a lore and a backstory that was genuinely serious to some degree. And
that's the thing. It's 2016. I don't think they were taking themselves seriously, but it feels like they did. And then Eternal, they were, and it like you like look at the cheesy lines, and you're like, this is serious. Like, you know, when Doom Guy cuts the guy's head off and like looks at it and it slops over like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's like, I don't know. The tones are completely opposite. It's just weird.
yeah, I agree.
Eternal's a bit more overt. I mean, they have to tell you 3-4 separate times that the longer the icon of sin is on Earth, the stronger
well,
it will become, because they didn't think you heard it the first 3.
In fairness, Hugo said that he didn't intend for it to come across that way. It just happened to be throughout development. When they finally pieced everything together, they were like, "Oh, wait a minute, this isn't right." So it was like that was an accident on their part. So to their credit, that was not intentional, but it is worth kind of pointing out, like they kind of goofed on that portion.
It's really funny because I remember like that was a Hugo stream, and he even asks people like, "Would you want us to change it?" And I'm like,
Oh yeah, he had a poll on the official Discord, didn't he?
and I was like, "Would you?" Like, I don't one, it changed, but I want to see if I want to see what you guys would do. Like, I want to see the alternate timeline.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's so dumb that I love it. Like, almost like I get some ironic pleasure out of it, and I don't want that ironic pleasure to go away.
Exactly. So, I want to bring it back so that we don't get too off track. Paisano, what's your favorite boss? Or what do you think of the bosses, I guess?
This is kind of in contrast to I think what Dane was saying. I think my favorite was definitely the Seraphim fight.
Really?
Yeah, because it was they did the multi-phase thing in a way that was actually felt interesting to me. Like contrast it to like Cyber Demon phase 1 versus phase 2. Like okay, he gets 1 or 2 more attacks and okay, whatever. Like that was a fun fight, but Sammer's all 5 of his phases minus the actual like the Kako Demon auto scroller phase, that was dumb. They're also like different and unique from each other and like present like I don't know, when I was first playing through it, I had to like think about things. I was like, okay, so the Pain Elemental's here, the Dread Knight's here. What do I actually try to kill first? You know, how do these pieces actually like fit together? And then like when does the Bloodmaker spawn? I should probably kill the first enemy before then, whatever. It felt I don't know, it just felt it felt really good to like to have everything kind of line up correctly for that fight.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate like wanting a variety in a fight. That definitely is an advantage. I guess part of my criticism of that fight was, I mean, for one, it did feel a little bit like the Cacodemon auto scroller section just felt very out of place and like kind of like an afterthought. But then the fight ends when you kill one of the spirits. Not when you like, because like when you fight the Cyber Demon in 2016, like you pull his horn off his head and bash his skull open until you have a gaping neck left over. Like you have this big final moment with it.
Gladiator is the same way where like you have to do damage, but then he's stuck in a glory kill state until you go, or flipping Spider Mastermind. Like,
oh my god, the Spider Mastermind glory
BFG
kill.
in her mouth and pull the trigger and blow a cavernous lane through her skull. Like there's like this definitive moment where the fight is over, and it felt like Sammer fight was just whiffed. Like you blew up the spirit. Like the end of the fight doesn't even come when you attack the Seraphim directly.
Yeah, that was the dumbest part of that. And I think speedrunning wise, I actually really like Seraphim. Or not even just speedrunning wise. I like that there's a variety of ways to get through the fight, including the speedrunning ways. BFG this phase early, BFG this phase early, do this BFG instead to like kill a Bloodmaker or to bring the Bloodmaker shield down. Like if, I always, because, a little bit of a plug, but I have a video like talking about like easy ways to do Sammer, even if you're not a speedrunner. And one of them is the moment you hear a Bloodmaker spawn, you can BFG to stun the other two and bring down its shield, or you can wait until you hear its attack, BFG, and it blows up the Bloodmaker. And I like that there's like a quote unquote variety of ways to deal with that fight. That said, it's a very oddly designed fight because I like that it's an arena fight, kind of like Icon, but it doesn't feel the same. I don't know. I have like I flip flop between liking it a lot and hating it, but I don't know.
There is a tonal consistency with it. Like you remember, like in 2016, you were, whether you realized it or not, you were working at Sam's bidding. You were doing what he wanted you to do. With the exceptions of destroying Argent Energy and all that. Like you were, everything you were doing was working toward ultimately getting him the Crucible. So it was like you had this. You were working for him to some degree. And so when you get to that fight and so much of the fight is fighting other demons, it's like, okay, yes, I get it. Like he's calling on the hordes of hell to do his bidding now, in stark contrast to every other fight where the boss is like in there doing the fight themselves. Sam's calling on other people to do everything for him because that's what he does. But then it just felt like that idea wasn't implemented as effectively as it probably could have been.
Hmm. I will say my favorite combat-wise to play, my favorite phases of Samur were the first one, then the fourth one, which are the ones where you're like directly fighting him, and he's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's teleporting around. Those are definitely my favorite ones to play when
Have
I
you
first played them. I hated the final phase.
Yeah.
Absolutely despised the final phase when I first played it. Then the second time and like third time when I kind of got used to how that phase actually worked, that I ended up really liking it. But I think I still like the highlight of the boss fight and why it's, at least combat wise, pretty top tier for me is the fighting him one on one parts. It
have
felt
you
a much better pace than, like, for example, a good comparison actually is what is it? Gladiator Phase 2, where you're fighting him one on one. He doesn't really he puts up a shield once in a while, but not super often. He's attacking you a lot. But I enjoyed fighting the Seraphim one on one more than the Gladiator one on one there, simply because he's moving around so much and you have to react much quicker. Whereas the
plus it's
Gladiators,
an arena as opposed it's a
that's true.
Doom arena versus the Coliseum thing. It's not a circle for your arena.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
also is a
Yeah.
factor there.
I
Like,
was gonna
Gladiator has
say,
these, like, big drawn out motions, and it's like, "Okay, I guess I'll just dash to the side."
have you have you played much modded content? I guess anybody, but in particular Paisano, I guess.
I have. I mainly played modded content before I started speedrunning.
Interesting. I was gonna say, have you like fought Samur in those?
Oh, yeah, I did, Horde mode too.
Yeah, I think that was
I
probably
really
one of
like
the
that.
cooler things. The one I played, that one was only weird because I had played it at launch and it was like way too much health and also very esoteric whether you were actually damaging it half the
Mhm.
time. What's it called?
Like, I don't think it's
There's
a coincidence that my favorite, like, creative parts for modded content was when they put, like, the Seraphim into just, like, a random other arena.
well, that was the
Not
coolest that it
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah,
My
that it worked, and
my
then when
favorite
you
latest one
get some
was
other ones where they edit the gladiator, or, like, they put the gladiator somewhere else, and, like, even when it worked and wasn't super glitchy, which it was usually the gladiator usually glitched out, it was like, this doesn't really, like, fit here.
mm,
This is an actual arena. What is the gladiator doing here?
there was lately the I'll say coolest mod I played lately was, and it's probably like the most infamous one within the past month or two, was Unreclaimed Earth.
Oh my god.
And the finale of that one I thought had a really cool like Samur. Just I
Mhm.
think that might be one of the best mods that's come out like lately.
That
And
that
I
level
love that
is
creator.
insanity. It is just like nonstop craziness.
Yeah, I have not been able to complete that one yet. I think it came out when I, like, wasn't really, like, into modded content anyway. I was more
Mm.
into speedrunning at that point, but,
I
like,
love
yeah.
the creator has like great humor where he'll just like have random messages like in different parts of the map, but one that nobody knew he had put until I was in the middle of a stream. I was doing no clip, just like I was literally telling people after I beat the level, I was like, this arena was really cool. This arena was cool. Might have been my favorite arena. And then I go to the end of the level and there's a message there that says, hey, great job doing no clip, noob. Which
Oh
was
my god.
really funny in of itself. And I think
Nice.
the guy was on stream when I found that, and he was like, "LOL, you're the first person to see this." Apparently, he edited it after the fact, and somebody else messaged me. They got there early, and the message now says, "Who the hell do you think, Bloodshot, or who the hell do you think you are, Bloodshot?"
Wow.
It was just really funny, but
That's
I think the
hilarious.
guy has like really good humor when it comes to like understanding Eternal and like the things people hate. He has like a bunch of Marauder spam jokes and stuff, and I don't know.
I
It's one of
found
those
the
things
optional
where
encounters where it's like, "Oh, skill issue encounter." I found that entertaining.
I think he gets it, you know.
Yeah.
And even when he like fails at a design, like I'm not big on like he does have like a Marauder spam arena with like regenning buff totem, which I think is good. It's just I think he threw too many Marauders in, but overall, I think the guy like actually gets it, and I'm
Mhm.
sad because I think he said he didn't want to make more levels. I don't know if that's true or not, but I really wish he would make more levels.
There's another level that seemed kind of similar, design-wise, like arena design-wise to Unreclaimed Earth. Much easier, but gave me the same vibes. It's called Not Exultia, I think. That one I really enjoyed playing.
I just love that name.
Yeah. But the creator of Not Exultia had a lot of the same like humor parts where, oh, this encounter is like kind of a joke, but it's still non-trivial. And then like these random messages. There was actually, I think there was an Easter egg to Unreclaimed Earth in that mod where it would drop you into the Exultia Slayer Gate. And then it's like 10 spirit archviles or something. It was just like ridiculous. And it was the skill
Lord.
issue encounter.
Oh
Oh,
god,
man.
that sounds horrible.
I was doing a cultist based mod. I forget what it was called. And overall it was fine, but they had 2 different secret encounters which they called the creator of Unreclaimed Earth is IDK 929, I think. And the creator of this other mod called them IDK 929 like skill issue. And
Mhm.
the first one was like it was a huge mancubus that was really fast, but it wasn't actually that hard or difficult. But the other one was unironically 30 it was spawn limit cyber mancubi that would jump into the same spot over and over. And not only was there like 32 of them, when you killed one, another would spawn up to like 70. And there was no fodder regenning in this arena. So you had to do this like you literally had to, and it was in the rocket launcher arena for cultist. So you basically had to go up to the top, and then he would spawn a buffed Caco demon and a bloodmaker on a like a 30-second timer. So you had to use your ammo on the cyber demons, hide, kill the bloodmaker, get ammo, hide, maybe kill one cyber mancubus. I think I kept saying cyber demon, not cyber mancubus. And this thing goes on for like I want to say ever, and it was so stupid. Mods were a mistake.
Definitely, but you know what's not a mistake? Another question.
Segway man.
Dude, the writers of this season are really pulling it together. Very happy with the content of this show. But okay, I guess here I think is just a general good one of, do you consider yourself more of a runner or a strat finder? I guess, like, how do you distinguish those things in your mind? So, Bloodshot, are you a router or a strat finder? Or, excuse me, a runner or a strat finder?
I mean, kind of both, but definitely more so. Hey, don't ban her. Dangerous. That's my wife. Uh, I don't know. I only say I don't know because I haven't been running consistently for a while. I definitely would have said I'm a runner, and I kind of want to say I'm still a runner, but nowadays I mostly just hop on and like maybe try to find one or two like white whales that I've been looking for the past 2 years, basically. I don't know. I would say both. I think nowadays I get a lot more fun finding like new skips when they happen, but obviously that happens less and less the more skips get found. So I don't know, kind of both.
All right, swapping it up. Paisano, what do you feel like you are?
Oh, we're swapping up the order now. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you
Oh,
got to keep
man.
on your toes.
If you asked me this question, like, I don't know, maybe like October or November last year, then I would definitely say Stratfinder because I was kind of garbage at any percent restricted. Was doing limited, but I wasn't really like like running it for like super good times. I was more just like, how many ridiculous time save strats can I put into this run in a single go? And most of my time playing the game was more like finding strats for limited. Like, how can I utilize this like ancient chainsaw clip that all collectibles used to do when that category existed? Like, how can I utilize this other glitch that I can do? Like, are there any extendo grabs that are actually useful? That kind of thing. And then and that was fun. That was definitely more strat finding. But now I kind of consider myself more of a runner with just running any percent unrestricted now.
And just to set the record straight, all collectibles still exists. It's still a category. It's still,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
still,
yeah,
it's still there.
I'm in
It's-
quote unquote exist.
Right.
Remind me after you're done with the question about a pet peeve I have. Just remind me.
But yeah,
Alright.
like now I'm more runner. I like almost all of my time is spent during runs for any percent.
Hmm.
Like once in a while I'll be like, oh, there's a strat here to get rid of this reload, but it's like a 1 second time save. It's not like I'm doing anything big, you know.
I remember
In
being
that
in.
category, I'm more the strat timer. Like you know, my route versus what Zamai did in his old record was doing like the big chrono boost in Doom Hunter base. Well, I'm not the one who found that. Like that existed for a very long time. I just, did some timings and was like, "Oh, this actually does save time." Lamau.
I remember specifically, I think it's just you and Bloodshot. Like, I just would pop in randomly, and suddenly it's just like it's Bloodshot messing with some strats, trying to find some time save, and then you'd be doing the same thing where like you found this new zip in Cultist base and was just
Yeah.
trying for like literally like 40 minutes. Was like, I wonder if there's a way to make this viable.
Yeah, I think I know what cultist space zip that you're talking about. Actually, I'm gonna do that zip in 100%. That's gonna be fun. But yeah, like even like routing it. Like I've been doing routing for 100% unrestricted Ultra Nightmare, and it's like fun or whatever. But like it's not. I don't know. Even with that, I don't really consider myself primarily being like a strat finder. Might
Alright.
not make much sense, but yeah.
Nah,
Well, mixing
fair.
mixing up the order. How about you, Raitro?
Oh, great! Because I was about to say that as well, actually.
Got him.
So I am very much a runner, true and true. The only time like I've got into routing was on 2 occasions. One was when Tag 1 released, and there was still like that little frenzy, we have like the first week of release of people trying to find strats. I remember I found like several strats. Like I found this UAC Atlantica Death Warp Yeet that you found, Bloodshot found, literally 45 minutes before I did.
I remember that because I think I found it, but then we both posted like at the same time. It was something really weird.
Yeah, and then it's just like you're like checking the time steps like you found this first. I was just like, frick, okay, 1 contribution down. Maybe I can get another. I routed movement for like the left and right trial movement sections, and those were both obsoleted within like a day.
It'd be like that sometimes.
And then I just got disinterested. The only time where I picked up routing after was in Tag 2 Hundo, to where I really experimented a lot with fight routing and just implementing NMG skips into Hundo because turns out they're fast. But yeah, other than those 2 specific instances, I have been a runner through and through, and I think I enjoy running the game a lot more. With the exception of 100% base game, because nobody likes running that.
You should do what you did for Tag 2 for base game.
No.
Start doing pit skip in Cultist Space, man.
I don't want to say... pit skip's not worth the 2 seconds, dude. But
Come on, Retro, we talked about this. It's more like 3 seconds.
Yeah, 3 seconds. Yeah, okay, my bad. 3 seconds. I'm gonna be doing it tomorrow. All right. So Dane, router or runner?
Truth be told, I'm kind of both. I sort of have played both roles and worn both hats at the same time. Big part of the reason why is because when 100% Ultra Nightmare was kind of getting established for the leaderboard for 2016, there was it's a very linear run, and even most of the runners now still run it in a very linear fashion. They don't exploit a lot of like very flashy speed tech. All the speed tech they do utilize is much more subtle. Like, the instant siege mode tech is like, it doesn't look huge or anything like that, but it's like this gigantic time save where it's chopped, like literally entire minutes off of the run. But they don't do things like rail boost and whatnot. So when we started looking at 100% Classic, there was this kind of mad frenzy to figure out, well, how can we shove as much speed tech into this run as possible? How can we cram every little rail boost, paperclip, everything we can into it? And a lot of that ended up being not me finding strats, but me kind of piecemealing and jigsaw puzzling everything from all of these other runs, like old any percent skips, old all secrets skips, and trying to find a way to kind of hodgepodge that all together. And so that was kind of my initial role, was not even so much strat finding, but more like strat assembling and getting all that piece together. And then for a long time, my PB just was like, I mean, the run had mostly died just because the PB that I had was actually really good for that route at the time. And then Darve came in and decided that, oh, hey, we can actually skip a whole bunch of other stuff. And he routed a lot of the stuff that is actually used now in 100% Classic that I would have done, but I didn't know about it at the time. And he's found a lot of the tech that's been used recently. The only thing that I really found, in my development of the current route was like, like collectible duping, like duping mods and cells and all that, and figuring out how to incorporate that. So that's like the only real thing that I have really still incorporated into the run is like duping and checkpoint loads and stuff like that. Otherwise, I'm pretty much a runner through and through. That's where a lot of my time has been spent.
Yeah, that point about like the strat assembling versus strat finding, I resonate with a lot in limited and eternal, because like a lot of the route changes that I did for limited when I first started running it were like, okay, so like the current state of the category is it's using like the upgrade route and like the same general, I shouldn't say path, but same mindset as normal NMG inbounds or any percent restricted now. And then I came into that category and was like, hey, what if we came into this category with a more of just an unrestricted route, start with as little as possible, and then add in things if they save time. And it's like, oh, so you don't have to grab this token in Art Complex to get faster dasher. You can instead use this chainsaw clip and skip that and also save time. And that kind of thing, that it was more of like just a change in mindset and assembling like these unrestricted strats and all collectible strats were utilized before, and then, oh, we could actually use this here.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of speedrun routing is how can you take something that somebody already found and then find a way to actually incorporate it in there. It's like, so a lot of the stuff in 2016 has been found by Seeker and Sapuline Horizon. They've been responsible for most of the actual finding the tech. And then once they find it, they kind of throw it at us, and we have to figure out how to actually incorporate it into the run. Because like Seeker doesn't run 100%. He has no idea why I sent him to go look for office skip. I was just like, I need a paperclip in this spot. Can you find it? And he found it, and he had no clue why he for this. I said, I need this. Go get him, boy. And I sicked him on the arena, and he found it. And so then it's like once he found the tech, I actually pulled the strat in and incorporated it directly into the route. So like that, it also goes to kind of tell you just how collaborative this whole process is. Nobody's a monolith, and even someone like Seeker who finds freaking everything, it still requires the ingenuity of so many other people to take this speed tech and utilize it the right way for like all of these different implementations of it.
It's funny because honestly, I think that's just Seeker in every game. Because I was doing Deathloop when that came out, and Seeker likewise in there. Just every time something got found, it was usually Seeker that found it, which is not
Seeker
a bad
found,
thing. Just
I think he found every single implementation of LPP skip in Deathloop. I think he found like all 5 versions of it. I think we're all him.
All the lineups, all the like different ways to do it. It's fantastic. I love him for it. It's just it's always funny when like the 2 names I recognize like the most across speedrun games seems to be Micrologist, who's just the best at like everything with the I'll say splitters, but like not just splitters, like he does like usually does trainers and stuff, right? Like
that's he. I mean, he does everything where he just opens up cheat engine. He could put together an auto splitter in like 50,
which is great,
out of his mind.
And then whenever I see Seeker, it's like, oh great, well I'll come back in a week, and then the time. That's the thing. The only thing that's bad about that is you want to speedrun the game, but you're like, well, might as well wait a week for Seeker to cut the time in half, and then cut it in half again, and then again, and then again until finally you're down to 5 minutes.
Yep.
One of my early speedruns was Rage 2, and when that game first came out, Seeker started to look for skips and stuff, and he stopped after like 3 days because he couldn't find anything. Pretty largely unbroken, and he just got fed up with the game and he never played it again.
How dare a game be put together well?
Well,
Rage 2 is not put together well. It's actually put together like a potato, but there was not a lot of speed stuff that you could find because it's an open world game, so it's a lot harder to find good skips for games like that.
What's it? Bloodshot, letting you know, you were my Seeker for when I was trying to reroute 100% in Tag 2. I constantly just had your, like, looking at your Tag 2 NMG times, and it was just like, okay, look at this skip. Can I understand it? Is there a way possibly to make this viable for Hundo? Like, yeah. What's it? I remember just literally...
I think we even talked about...
yeah.
I forget which it was, but...
Yeah.
I think in particular, it was the yeet hook in Amora. We were talking about, like, could we do this somehow? And I think I said, yeah, there's a way to do it.
Yeah, I remember specifically I was in your stream talking about 100% Hundo, and it was just in the World Spear, the first village fight, and you're just like, hey, why don't you just do the invisible wall clip? Like, it was just something as simple as that. I'm just like, oh god, how did I not think to do that? That saves time.
Well, for the longest time, that's like, I mean, that's been a thing. I'll say since I've started, speedrunning Doom Eternal, is like a lot of the classic runners, the restricted runners, and the Hundo runners. Which I know Hundo has restricted and unrestricted, but we know what we restricted any %, whatever. They like wouldn't talk to each other much or like look at each other's stuff. Not from like any like malice or anything, but just kind of, we just didn't share a lot of stuff. It took like a lot of the like, restricted runners going to Hundo and vice versa. Although mostly the restricted going to Hundo to really start like, oh, we can do this here, and also we can do the opposite here. And there's people like, I know Undeceiver in particular was very big at one point, trying to like, by the way, guys, there's a lot of stuff we could kind of like, have you tried this from Hundo? And whether or not it worked, it was really nice to see the stuff because I wouldn't have thought of that stuff that Hundo did. But really early, and I think this is just a funny story. There was a guy who I remember not being, I just want to say good. And I don't mean like good at speedrunning, but just like very annoying to deal with because they couldn't like, they didn't know how to submit times and some other stuff. And they kept asking questions that I would say were very like self-explanatory. But they submitted a run for NMG Arc Complex, and they just ballista boosted over and they did the tentacle skip. and everybody was like, "Wait, what did he do? Is that a thing?" And it was a random person. And so we're like, "All right, let's look at this." And then we decided that yeah, we could do that. It was allowed, etc. And then I forget who it was, but somebody suggested doing it in Hundo. And then the next run from Zero Master, he ended up doing that skip where you skip to the end and then you fast travel everywhere else. So that was like the first like big example of like a restricted runner. And it wasn't even like a runner, it was just somebody, I'll say random, found the skip, restricted runners routed it, suggested it might be good in Hundo because you could fast travel, and then it got implemented in Hundo. So it was kind of cool that there was this like chain of events that led to that like mixing together. So
Kind of the
just kind of
yeah, kind of the reverse of that. Prolific Hundo runner Zero Master found out the Destroyer Blade was actually borderline broken. And I remember literally when he released his Hundo run that day, there was instantly the thought of, how do we implement this everywhere? And I just remember NMG finding out, doing the numbers, and it's just like, yeah, Destroyer Blade's worth it, just specifically for Arc Complex.
That's when I think that's when Drake started like really popping off in terms of like helping routing and stuff. Or at least that's when I remember seeing Drake pop off for routing and stuff. I'm sure Drake has been involved a little bit longer than that, but like that was in particular, I was like, oh, like D-Blade and Arc's good. All right, that's cool. And the numbers didn't lie on that one. It was like, I don't know how long it actually saved, but A, it saved time, and B, it made it much more consistent, which was the more important part.
All right. Well,
I had no idea that the Arc Complex tentacle skip was found that way.
Yeah, it was weird.
Cool.
Our history is deep and filled with tricks that we are convinced will do nothing, and then found out a few months later that they're actually borderline broken and revolutionized categories.
Yep, wall dashes, punch boosts.
I was gonna say punch boosts.
We've had box skip in the run for how long?
Yeah, like,
I mean, honestly, probably since the beginning. Like, we knew about punch boosts from obviously box skip, but even just there's the Kako Demon in Hell on Earth.
Yeah.
Before like one of the subway things, and we knew you could like sticky it and then punch boost it, but it was just really hard. So we knew punch boosts as a whole were a thing, but we never really experimented with them or checked how easy they could be. And turns out they can be really, really easy.
Bletcha, you were here at the beginning of the Eternal cycle, right? You were there like from day one, if I recall correctly. Is that right?
I'll say like month 2. Like I wasn't here for the big any % stuff. Like I don't know,
Right.
but I was here early enough. I'll say
you missed the initial release that like I'll tell you I think the entire Eternal staff, with maybe like one exception that I can't think of at the moment, turned over after the initial frenzy when the game first came out. And so I was trying to remember like if you were there for that initial cluster bomb, as it were, because that was a wild ride being here for the first couple weeks of the game's release, and like you're finding slow boosting 5 minutes after booting the game up, and it was like, oh boy.
I was not there for that. That actually sounds really funny.
Yeah, Seeker booted up the game, and about 5 minutes later, he posted a video of him doing slow boost in the Discord, and we're like, well, that didn't take long.
Rip.
And that's when we figured out that this game, not the best programmed.
I was gonna say it's something special. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, tomato.
How long after initial release were like big rail boosts found in 2016?
Oh, almost instantly. Here's the thing: you could rail boost.
You just did
completely by accident, and everybody did when they played Uncapped.
You know how we just randomly rail boost in Atlantica?
Yeah.
That's 2016. You would mantle up somewhere and then you'd be somewhere else, and you're like, what? That's
the first
in my casual playthroughs of both. I never rail boosted once because I was playing on a GTX 1060. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would do it. If you actually have the capability of more than frames per second, you could get them. But I remember the very first video that we had recorded of a rail boost was actually Draku doing an Ultra Nightmare run, and he gets to Argent Tower and just flies off into the void.
oh no.
That was an interesting one because he suddenly got up from the computer and he walked away from the mic and he said, "Well, that's one way to go."
That's hilarious. Wasn't the paper clipping though was found like very late after release?
Oh yeah, paperclip actually was discovered after I jumped into the fray. It was sometime in 2019 because Bite Me was looking for a way to skip risking a tick on one of the mission challenges in resource operations, and so he put out a bounty to find a way to do this skip. And guess who found it? Just guess. Just take a wild guess.
I'm gonna guess it was you, and definitely not Seeker.
Nope, you are wrong.
It was Math Turk.
Exactly.
It was always Matt Turk. I'm apparently being accused of lying to the audience. Lovely. But yeah, paperclips were found like very late into the game's life cycle. Compared to a lot of the other strats and speed tech that have been found early on. Like rail boosts were found day one. Glory kill clips were found very shortly into the game's life cycle because once we realized it was locking your animation or your coordinate storage, it was like, well, we're gonna be able to abuse that pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Did Bite Me end up using that in runs at the time? Using that paperclip?
At the time, yeah, he did. But it was wait, hold on. The Resolve paperclip was just the first paperclip actually used. He found it in Tower while trying to make a new route for Legacy. Well, but the paperclip that he found in resource operations was specifically the one that was like Bite was looking for a bounty on, and once he actually had that, he started using runs. He has since switched to using a mod that just automatically unlocks the door so that you don't have to do that paperclip at all. It validates the run for leaderboard purposes, but to each their own. A lot of paperclips weren't able to be like a good example would be before we knew how to implement paperclips fully, there was a point in time very early into any percent where they were doing the glory kill clip in the foundry door to get into the turbine room. And then once you're in there, you're totally soft locked because it was like, well, what do you do? What do you do now? And so it's like we always had a way to get in there, but we had no way of bypassing that room to get to the end of the level. But then once paperclipping was found, that changed everything, and also subsequently destroyed Foundry because Foundry used to be a god awful level, and then with paperclip tech, it only became a semi terrible level.
Only semi-terrible. I think my PB has 4 minutes of time save in Foundry in any percent.
Oh, good grief.
Wait, no, it's not Foundry, actually. It was Argent Facility Destroyed. I believe I got Kako memed in that one. But yeah, Foundry is... I think I remember... I was watching Dara's video on how Spider Mastermind Skip was found and like the history of that.
Yeah.
And oh no, not that one. It was about how intro was changed and when paper clipping was discovered and stuff. And I was like, well, hold on a second. Like glory kill clipping and paper clipping took really long to be discovered, or not be discovered, but at least be utilized in runs. What did Foundry look like? Because that's like the two big things in Foundry is a glory kill clip and then a paper clip. Then I looked at some old runs and was like, oh lord, this is awful.
It was bad. It was really bad. I mean, the old Foundry was a big reason why I never bothered learning any percent. I was like, I do not want to touch this category with a 10-foot pole just because of this one stupid skip. And now it's like, now the paperclip that we use at the end of Foundry is one that we also use in 100%. And it's even Ultra Nightmare viable. And it's funny because a couple of Ultra Nightmare runners were like, how do you do this flip? Because I think we want to skip that Olivia cutscene now. It's like, aha. We have fallen.
That's funny. with how late paper clipping was discovered, it gives me hope for a similar thing for Eternal. Let me skip the first arena of Art Complex, please.
If we could find a way to paperclip into the battery rooms in
Oh
Fortress of
my God.
Doom, like,
Well, that wouldn't be allowed for restricted, right, Mr. Moderator?
we'll make an exception specifically
We'll
for
make
those
it-
rooms.
So I think I've talked about this a billion times with everybody, and I still think most people are on board with it. Most. At some point, once we're pretty darn sure, and I'm honestly pretty darn sure now, that Eternal's like done, like no more updates, yada yada. I want to get a modder or two, whatever, to help with like a speedrun kind of patch thing. I've like talked around with people, and the two big ideas that people like are interested in seeing. The first one is obvious: skipping cutscenes, skipping animations, all that BS, just the
Fast
typical
icon
stuff.
for current patch.
And that's the other one is like a lot of the stuff I would like to see maybe reverted so that we could run on current patch. It's not a huge deal, but like it'd be kind of cool to see. Obviously that's like how much of that can we actually do? Like, can we get fast icon? Can we get Icebomb Marauder? That'd be a cool one to see. But obviously, there's a lot of logistics that go into that. So I'm not gonna, at the very least, removing walls and like skipping cutscenes are a big one that you could probably do. But the other one that I've talked to more about this is getting a speed mode, which would be you remove all enemies, but you have all doors open / unlockable. And in all of the big popular like yeet hook spots, you just put meat hook nodes. And there's a I forget what it is, but there's like a command which basically lets meat hook nodes work exactly like enemies do, where it doesn't like arrest your momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, do the levels as fast as possible with movement. Which obviously I know some people are gonna be like, oh, but don't you play Doom Eternal for fighting enemies? Why do you But I really like the movement of Doom Eternal. I think wall dashes and dash boosts and yeet hooks and all that stuff are really cool, and ballista boosts and bunny hops. Very fun to just casually do. If anybody's ever watched me like chill after like a run or something, they'll see me just go into arena and then just bunny hop around because it's just kind of fun casually to do. So
That's literally what I'm doing right now in Cultist Space, actually.
exactly. Like, honest to God, like just doing the movement's fun, and having a game mode that's just doing the movement would be kind of cool. So I wanna look and see if there's like a modder who could like maybe help with that kind of thing too, because that just it's one of those things that might breathe life back into the game because a lot of people want to kind of try that kind of stuff out. So it'd be kind of cool to at least see if it's possible.
I'm not sure if he's here right now, but I know Mute has expressed a lot of wanting for that, like explicitly, like just like a defrag mode for the game where you literally just all the doors are open, and exactly what you described. He's mentioned before, like it would be a really cool thing for the game. So yeah,
Rip that right out of Ghost Runner.
right out of Ghost Runner.
Honestly, that's when I did it from Ghost Runner. Like, I had so much fun playing that I was like, I want to see if we can get this for Doom Eternal because it was just so much fun doing it in Ghost Runner.
Speaking Ghost Runner, and I guess like anyway, we've been doing this for like 2-ish hours, so I think we are good. So to ends the round table, we gotta end it with, not an extensive question, but still curious from all of you. What would you say is one not Doom game that you really like, that's like somewhat modern, just to get a feel for, our game style, and like why do we think we come back to Eternal, or 2016 in Dane's case? Like, I guess I can start with this if we want to be in the realm of switching up the orders. There was recently this game that's like in the movement shooter genre that released last year in about September. That's called Severed Steel.
Yep.
The game is very Doom Titanfall-esque, where it's basically boomer shooter, but picture you have all the movement from Titanfall. And something about like the movement is just like reminds me kind of why I get into like Doom and Eternal, because like you just get into that instant flow state of where in that game you're wall running, you're picking up at guns off of enemies, shooting them in the head, and then like finding the other 10 enemies, rounding corners, diving through windows, and you all have to do that like in the zone, because if you have time to think, it's like you'll probably just end up either getting hurt or having to restart the level. So that's one thing I would say I'm really into.
I would say so. One run that I've learned recently that I'm actually really, really enjoying is another id property, Rage 1. Blaine and I have both been tackling that as our newest adventure. That game also has paper clipping in it, by the way. It is on the id Tech engine, so there's still paper clipping in it. But that is a lot of fun. There's strafe hopping. So if you were a big fan of Quake, it's got that. It's a really, really good speed run. Extremely underrated. For like a long time, there were only 3 runs on the leaderboard. And then I think 2 got added within the last couple months. And now I think there's going to be like a big influx of new runs again, because it's actually a really, really good run.
All right, Paisano, you go.
Yeah, for me, just recently I learned Hollow Knight any percent NMG. I haven't done like a full run of it yet. I haven't really had much time with school, but just like learning it and like going through like practice runs with like their trainer and stuff was super, super fun. And I kind of got the same feeling as when I learned any percent restricted NMG for Eternal, where it's just all of these small skips coming together into one big cohesive, not in Hollow Knight's case, it's not really big. It's like 40 minutes long, but you get what I mean. A lot of the skips were very similar to at least in feeling to the ones in any percent restricted, where like you're shooting the your side spell, which gives you just a tiny bit of recoil in a direction that lets you go up to a platform that you're not supposed to be able to reach. Or like there's a pogo mechanic in the game where you swing your sword thing downwards and then you get a little bit more momentum upwards, and it's essentially like a like hook jumping. Like when I first learned skips involving doing like pogo after pogo after pogo, it was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like Marauder skip in Final Sin when I first learned it. So that sort of thing is what I really enjoy about those 2 runs, and it's kind of a unexpected commonality between a 2D platformer and a Doom Eternal.
And finally, last but maybe least, I don't know. That's for you to decide. Bloodshot. What you have to say is a
Oof.
is a game that you think kind of rekindles like a bit with Doom and Doom Eternal, where that kind of fits into the niche.
Definitely Ghost Runner is the big one that I've really liked within the past year or 2. It's one of those games where very much like I'll say like the Mario games and stuff, where you can just kind of have fun like going through a hub, jumping and not doing anything with a goal, just having fun with the movement. Ghost Runner is a game with so much cool movement tech that's just fun to perform just every time. Like I never get tired of just running through a level and doing the stuff that you do in Ghost Runner. And for the most part, I like how like the devs have handled patches. I think it's a little unfortunate. I think you have to down patch now to be quote unquote competitive, but they've tried their best not to patch out speedrun stuff. They haven't always succeeded, but like they tried, I'll say more than Doom Eternal has, because I don't think Doom Eternal has tried.
I can jump in and say
Tried to do the opposite, where they've actually gone after speedrunners.
hey, Hugo said that they aren't, so
Wow.
I'll jump on the train with Bloodshot here. Ghost Runner's a freaking great game. I love that game.
I won't say it's like Doom, but I will say I have defended that Titanfall 2 might be the best modern speed game out there within the past like 10 years. Because that game's like, I wouldn't say at least 6 years old. I think it might be more than 6 years old, but I forget how old it actually is.
Came out in 2016, so it's 8 years old now.
There you go. It's 8 years old, and it's
Wow.
still finding new skips that are like actually redefining the run to this
Yeah,
day.
I told you I am old. I played that game in high school.
But yeah, like that game is still finding new tech that is redefining it. They're having like tournaments. I know this is hysterical to be promoting this, but there's like a Titanfall 2 speedrunning tournament happening within like the month. And it's just cool that the game is still that like lively. Like it is really alive, and I think it's going to be thriving for probably a long time just because it's also one of those ones where like it's got really good speed tech. It's a lot more nuanced than any other game I'd play. Like there's a lot of small stuff you have to do just to like get a little bit faster while like going down a hallway. But overall, like I am not great at Titanfall 2 speedrunning, but it is so fun looking up and like looking at all the stuff that they keep improving upon, all the new stuff they find, just everything. And whenever people ask like recommendations for speed games, that is number one on my list, just because of how I think it's going to last for a while.
All right. Well, you heard that. You have some new games to play, people. I guess before we sign off, let's just go down the line, and if anybody wants to plug something, they can plug it. Bloodshot, plug yourself.
I'm Bloodshot 9001. I stream stuff. Usually speedrunning, but actually lately I've been like doing game development, which is kind of neat. So if that sounds interesting, there you go.
And who's this next person? Danejerus?
See, that would only work if we were like at the very beginning of the night, but at the very end, you can't really get away with that.
Yeah, you could say that strategy was quite dangerous, but I think it'll pay off.
Oh
Anyway,
no.
yeah, you can follow me at twitch.tv/Dan. I do speedruns of Doom. I'm also starting to learn other speedruns, and I have my own personal little channels. Speedrun marathon is called Dane Done Quick, which I just think is a great branding for that. So you can come follow me there. Also want to plug the upcoming MDSR 2022 speedrun marathon we have coming up on March 5th and 6th. We have a bunch of fantastic Doom and a bunch of fantastic other runs that you'll definitely want to check out. So be sure you have followed this channel, Modern Doom Speedrunning, for the notifications for when those go live, because that's going to be an event you do not want to miss. And we're raising money for Save the Children this year, so it's all going to a great cause.
Awesome. Hi, I'm twitch.tv/Raitro_. Feel free to follow me there, or don't, or I guess follow whoever you want. If you really want, I would like to actually, yeah, they're just that. Paisano, you plug your stuff.
I really only have one thing to plug, and that's just my Twitch channel, which is exactly the name that you see in the top right there. I do mostly Eternal, but I also do 2016 any%. And one kind of long-term project that I've been working on is anthology any% stuff. So starting with Doom 2016, and then Eternal any%, Tag 1 any%, Tag 2 any%. MDSR any%, basically, and I'll be doing that run for the MDSR marathon in a few weeks, so that'll be fun. And yeah, I also do Minecraft speedrunning with Mute every once in a while, so that's fun. Go follow me if you want to see these see more Doom. more skyboxes. I do a lot of viewing skyboxes in my runs.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing I forgot to plug. Shadow Warrior 3 is a game that's coming out in about a week. You should totally maybe pick that up and join that Discord for speedrunning Shadow Warrior games, because you might recognize a couple people from this call who may mod for the game for some reason.
Might. mod for it, maybe,
Might.
perhaps, possibly.
We are currently maybe doing that. Who knows? Dane and I.
We might actually be doing that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Co-mod.
Yes. So I think that's it. Thank you everybody for joining. Let us raid somebody from the community. Who is live that we can send everybody from here to?
I see a channel in my following, Modern Doom Speedrun. Oh wait, no, that's this channel. Never mind. Can't do that.
Yeah, kind of can't do that.
I'll check who's running or doing Doom Eternal. But at the very least, if nobody's doing Doom Eternal, Devo is playing Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
Calfira is also doing Doom 2 right now.
Ooh, that's Doom. That's Doom-like.
Yeah, let's see if somebody's doing something Doom 2016 or Eternal, and then we'll go back to that.
I don't see anything Eternal related other than like,
Oof.
you know.
Anyone 2016 doing stuff?
Let me pull it up and check. I'm not seeing anybody doing. Yeah, there's nobody speedrunning 2016 right now, unfortunately.
All right. Well, how about we send everybody to a person of our community, Calfira, who she's doing Doom 2.
Let's do it.
So yeah, if you don't know Calfira, they speedran Doom Eternal. They were a Tag 2 buddy with me. And they also have done base game Hundo as well. They're doing just Doom 2 booter shooters. Everybody enjoy, have a great night, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you all for watching.
Always go fast.
Always go fast.
Always.